Hello, happy Tuesday. It's time for coffee and Cursey words. Hello, law nerds. I see you coming in from all over. I've got my coffee, probably have some Cursey words. We have a lot to cover today. It's been a week, it's been a weekend. I hope you are all well. I am getting there. We're not 100%, but that's all, probably TMI for the internet anyway. So I've been sharing a little bit of that, and we'll probably do an I Have Thoughts podcast just about what's been going on. But it's just not sick. My intestines are really angry. So we're trying to soothe the wild beasts. Anyone who's had that kind of stuff, it's long, it's a hassle, it's a thing, it's a process, but we're good. We're good. We did a bit of a liquid diet. I don't know. It has helped. So I'm still in the like a little bit of hangry world. So if you're like, Emily, it's a vibe. Hangry's the vibe. Did I ever want to do like Mr. Beast, I didn't eat food for X amount of days video? No, I never thought that that's what I would be doing. And then that's what I'm doing. So there we are. But happily, today we've got some coffee, and that is very exciting for me. So, law nerds, I'm so happy to see you. I know a ton of you guys have gut stuff. It's hard stuff. So, what are we going to do? We're just going to carry on. And if there's a day we can't be here, then there's a day we can't be here. And I'll always keep you in the post, in the loop with a post about that. So we have coffee. I have the voice changers ready to go today because, we might need to just, if I have we just might need to do the things. I just love it so much. So we're going to have some fun. We're just going to have some fun today. We've got a lot of topics on the docket. Should I tell you what they are? Probably. We're professionals here. This is my optimistic docket, and then we're going to get to Q&A because it's always my favorite. But I am going to talk. I know it's not legal, but it is legal. We have not talked about the Elon Musk Twitter lawsuit. My friend Rick Hogue over on Hogue Law has been covering that so fantastically, but I am interested in the hornet's nest that is going to be shaken up by this Twitter whistleblower that was published in the Washington Post this morning. Have you seen this yet? Oh boy. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how that whistleblower might impact the Elon Musk Twitter litigation because I'm fascinated. Like, I'm curious. I'm going to be following this a bit more. If y'all want to hear about it a bit more in future shows, let me know. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the whistleblower allegations with Twitter. Musk, do I always go to the Washington Post? No, but they're the ones who have the whistleblower and they're the ones who did the things. So we're absolutely going to be covering it. We're also going to be talking about the Girardi things. There is some new stuff going on with Erika Girardi. She is going to be forced into court, and Tom Girardi's ex-mistress gave back gifts. Interesting. Isn't that interesting? So we're going to be talking about gifts and the bankruptcies. Then we have a few other topics. There's a ton of coverage coming out of the Vanessa Bryant lawsuit with the LA County Fire Department. I was just going to take a look at the fire chief testifying yesterday and Vanessa Bryant testifying on Friday and kind of go through summary of what's going on there. Testimony is ongoing, but from the reporting I'm seeing, I think the question is going to be how much money is this jury going to give Vanessa Bryant? But that's just what I'm thinking based on the reading. So we're going to talk about all of that today, and then we're going to get to your questions. So let me know. We're going to ADK. I think some of these reports talk a little bit about the gifts, and that's going to be really fun. So let me know where you're coming in from, what you're drinking, and we've also got water. So we've got water in that. I know I see that some of you aren't interested in Vanessa Bryant. I completely understand. However, when we have governmental malfeasance, we need to talk about it. What happened at that crash scene, if it is as it was alleged, should never have happened. And some of the testimony coming out about it is horrific. And I think it goes into this larger culture of where the boundaries are. Like, are there any boundaries, especially when we're dealing with celebrities? And that is a much bigger issue than just one person. And that is something we need to talk about for sure. So we should just get into it. It's good to see y'all coming in. Law nerds, I missed you.
I did. So much. Let's go. That's not my intro. Professionals, people. Professionals.
Hey there. If we haven't met yet, I'm Emily D. Baker, the badass lawyer and everyone's favorite legal commentator. I'm the host of The Emily Show, and I break down the legal shit behind the news and pop culture stories we all want to talk about. I have been a licensed attorney for over 15 years, but this is not legal advice. I should warn you, I'm a big fan of the Cursey words. This channel is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not fuckery. It's so good to see everyone coming in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know some of you have gut recommendations. Don't worry. I have a medical team. We're good. It's part of why I don't talk about stuff on the internet. It's not that I don't appreciate it. I do. It's just that I'm ADHD and I get very easily overwhelmed with decision analysis paralysis, and sometimes rabbit holes with too much information will make me do nothing. So I've literally gone like, la, 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 and just have stuck to what I've been told to do. And we're going to do that for like a month or two. And then I will explore the other realms of possibility, because I get overwhelmed. Too much info sometimes. Like, I want to know all the things, but then I will freeze. Anyone else do that? Look, those of you with ADHD, some of you also get I want to know everything, but then I get overwhelmed with information and then I can do nothing. Like, I have too many options and now I'm frozen. Yep. So it's part of why I don't share a ton of detail on the internet, just because people are completely well-meaning, but I don't want people's feelings to be hurt if I'm like, hey, I'm good. So that's all. I wanted to let you know. So I appreciate it. Thank you. But it's not on you. It's on me. And again, I feel very lucky to have the ability to go to doctors that I trust. There's great medical here in Middle Tennessee. Things are much faster than I ever experienced them in Los Angeles. So that's been really kind. So thank you all for the suggestions and the well wishes. I appreciate it. That's just where we're at. So thank you. Where are we going first? We're gonna go to the twiddle whittle whistleblower. Good God, Emily. Have you talked in 3 days? Not much. Did record the podcast yesterday, and that is coming out tomorrow. I know, I've been so late. Our editors are so magical. Dan and Megalina just make things happen, even when I am not always at my best and most timely, and it is so deeply appreciated. And that is why you will have a podcast tomorrow, because these amazing humans make sure that it gets done, even when it takes me forever to sit down and record. Some of you saw that on Instagram last night, that I was finally sitting down to record last night, and saw the debate going on in my household. This will have to be a court of public opinion for another time, but the debate going on in my household is that my teen asked if we could watch The Princess Bride. He was like, looks good, want to watch it? I'm like, obviously, yes. And then he comes, I'm getting ready to record the podcast. So I was putting on like a minimal amount of mascara and things. And he comes into my bathroom. He's like, Mom. And I was like, dude, are things okay? He's like, Dad's never seen The Princess Bride. I'm like, wait, what? So my husband's never seen The Princess Bride. We have been married over 20 years. I don't know how this has happened. I know I've watched the movie in that time. Did I only watch it if I was homesick, like by myself? Like, what is happening? How has this? I am shocked. And I'm like, look, he's like, and Dr. B will fall asleep during movies and forget things. So I look at him and I'm like, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh shit, you've really never seen it. Paige, this is the only acceptable response. It's inconceivable. So that's what we're doing this weekend. So he was like, no, I never saw it. I'm like, How? But here's the gift that keeps on giving. You never really know someone. And now I get to experience multiple people in my household watching this for the first time. And that is a gift that keeps on giving. And then I show him like a trailer for the movie. And he's like, well, what year did this come out? And then where it came out like the year after Top Gun. So he, it's not like he was young. I'm like, you could have seen this movie. But he was like, I would have remembered Robin Wright. Like that I wouldn't have forgotten. And I was like, that's a fair point. You've really never seen this movie. I'm shook. But I'm very excited again to watch it with them the first time. I can't wait. I just can't wait. My kid's going to love the special effects. He's going to be like, kids today, the animation on their cartoons is better than the special effects in most of these movies, and they grow up with unrealistic expectations. So I can't wait. Now, Young Frankenstein, the man has seen like a million times. The Princess Bride, no. People are saying I watched The Princess Bride at a birthday party as a kid. We watch so many movies at birthday parties as kids. Birthday parties have totally changed, by the way. It used to just be somebody's parents would get a bunch of popcorn and candy and put on a movie. And that is not what happens anymore. It's Pinterest maybe has ruined children's birthdays, but we'll talk about that. Or we all ruined it as adults when we're like, this is the party I really wanted. And we're just foisting it on our children. I don't know. One of the two. We should probably get into whistleblower stuff. Is my screen shared? That would be too much. Oh, I do need to plug the YouTube things. YouTube is doing their YouTube things, and not everyone who thinks they are subscribed is subscribed. Yes, the chat's on subscribers mode. Some of you might find that you were not subscribed, even if you thought you were subscribed. Go ahead and do the YouTube things. Like and subscribe. Look, missing a few regular streams and YouTube is like, we don't know who you are. Some of you aren't going to get notifications. You're going to come in an hour later and just be like, I wasn't notified. Yeah, you take a day off YouTube. YouTube forgets that you exist. It's fine. It's fine. Kate Manning. This is one of my favorite movies. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is such a fantastic movie. It's such a fantastic movie. It's such a fantastic movie. It's iconic. All right. We could talk about movies forever, but of course, a lot of you are here for the live. You guys can go ahead and chat a little bit about movies in the chat as we get into our first topic. Mods, I know it's not on topic, but it is. We're going to spill over a little bit because the chat is slow. YouTube says she doesn't go here after an absence. That's exactly right. And I'm trying not to let it hurt my feelings because YouTube is like, creators, you need to take a break when you need to take a break. I'm like, physically, I had to take a break. And then you come back and they're just like, why would we let anyone know that you're live? Keep them subscribed to your channel. That's weird. It doesn't matter. It's going to happen. YouTube is a long game, and I'm just going to keep being here. Because this is my favorite. I can't imagine, I just can't see myself going back to not doing live streams. I love being able to chat with you in real time. This is my favorite. I love it. So we're doing it. All right. I need to figure out how I'm sharing my screen. Let's do that first. And then I see the comment about Monty Python Holy Grail. We will talk about that in just a second. I love Holy Grail. I watched that a lot in high school. I love Holy Grail. So yes, I think we're getting about that time with my eldest that he would appreciate the humor and not just be like, what the hell is this? And that's really what I'm looking for with my kid, is that he'll be able to appreciate the humor. He just watched the entirety of The Office for the first time. And so that was really exciting. I appreciated that. And it was really fun to get to watch it with him. You know what? This is not screen sharing right. Hold on. It's like we forget. Wait, Katie says, my husband hasn't seen Beetlejuice. See? You never know. You never know. You never know. Run away. Run away. It's merely a flesh wound. My high school water polo team loved Monty Python. And so we would speak in Monty Python quotes quite a lot. It became our language, which I loved. It made me feel a little bit more like I belonged on a men's water polo team where I was the only woman. It made me feel like we had some camaraderie. There was some common levels. It was just, we did all of the inside jokes, and that there's nothing more belonging than an inside joke, is there? When y'all get it and everybody else is like, what are they talking about? It's like, "Ugh, you wouldn't understand. We're deeply intellectual. We're in high school. You wouldn't know. I saw Rocky Horror Picture Show mentioned a lot. Also, something I loved in high school, something my husband loved, something that played was such a big part of growing up in LA was Rocky Horror Picture Show live. A very big part of growing up in LA. So, hello from Norway. Hello. Should we mention Monty Python's Holy Grail? Yes. I think we're just about at the age, not for my youngest. I don't think he would get it. And I think he might inappropriately repeat things. That's the one. That's the one who's like, my mom said this. Is that okay? He will tell me in a half a second. My oldest kind of gets it. So let us talk about this whistleblower in the context. First of all, if you don't support the Washington Post, I completely understand. We've covered a very long trial. I understand. It is what it is. Media outlets are still reporting things. We still have to rely on them. The Washington Post broke this morning. I am looking at a secondary article from the Washington Post about how these new allegations could factor into the Twitter versus Musk trial. So there are two big articles up on the Washington Post and then elsewhere. Here's the TLDR on what happened this morning. A whistleblower who was one of the top technology officers at Twitter filed a whistleblower complaint with numerous government agencies, including members of Congress, and a congressional aide made sure that the media got a hold of this report. That's what I gleaned from the Washington Post article this morning. This will hopefully break it down. Why do this as a whistleblower? Whistleblowers in the US have certain legal protection and among other things. Now with whistleblowers, you're going to always see a company saying, this isn't true, this is sour grapes. Especially in the case where people have recently been fired, I would always say, do your own research, read the articles, read what they said, take it with a grain of salt. Don't use it as confirmation bias to be like, see, I knew Twitter sucked. But all of you are going to be like, But I would also listen, because oftentimes whistleblowers risk their professional reputation to blow the whistle on something. And most whistleblowers I have seen do it out of a sense of integrity. Of course, these things are being submitted to government agencies that are going to have to vet them. So we are going to see what comes from this in the future. This is not a one and done, everything is answered. We are going to have to continue to see what comes from this. This is a starting point. So that's my kind of here's your here's how I look at things. I'm going to continue looking at the reporting coming out of this, even reporting that's critical of it, even if I agree with an article. That's how my process works when I go through things. I always try to get back to the underlying source. So if an article says per NBC, I just want to go read the NBC article as well. So I end up tracking back things, 3 or 4 articles, which is a pain in the ass when everybody's reporting one outlet that has the source material and nobody gets to see the source material. I wish we had seen the source material more, but who knows? All right. So with all, Emily, how many caveats is that? 1,000? I'm sorry for all the caveats. I hope explaining my process helps and helps make you not feel so alone when you're like, I read everything, but I question everything and I want to see more. And maybe I will go with, oh, these are my questions. Let's see if these get answered. Critical thought is, are questions allowed on the internet anymore? Critical thought is a power that no one can take from you. Are we still allowed to ask questions on the internet? I'm going to still do that. We're allowed to ask questions. We should be allowed to ask questions. Questions aren't a problem unless you're trying to hide the answers. So let's fuck some shit up and ask some questions about what the fuck is going on over at Twitter. I appreciate the picture that they picked. This is also in line. This mirrors the thumb. Look, the Washington Post is now using YouTube thumbnails. This is a YouTube thumbnail I would click on. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you click on this thumbnail? I want to know. This is like smug mug Elon Musk with the whole hands thing. Hold on. It also plays in with the other the other article, and I'll give it to the mods to link the other article since I'm referring to it. Let's see. Since I'm referring to it, I'll link it down below, so you guys can explore it for yourselves. It is a long article. I'm not going to go through all of it, but this is the original. Oh, I have reached my. Just show me that. I've reached my limit. I'm going to have to go incognito, but I'm going to make sure that this gets in the description box so we have it. This is not the article I wanted to cover. I will have to go incognito, but other than you seeing seeing this hideous pay box, let's see if we can refresh it so you can see the thumbnail that they're using. The thumbnails are the same. I don't know if this is typical thumbnail, but the thumbnails are very much working together. They just swapped out the picture. This thumbnail for Elon Musk, this one for Jack Dorsey, the hashtag, of course, on the front more prominently on that one, and then this one kind of buried in the back. I like it. I like the parody of thumbnails. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. So let's go through the one that we have. Elon Musk alleges Twitter is vastly undercounting the number of spam and bot accounts on its platform. A new whistleblower complaint from a recently fired top Twitter executive could add ammunition to that argument, though it provides little hard evidence to back up a key assertion. Interesting. So they're already questioning the article that's put out on their own news organization. Here's the other thing. There's a quote from someone who disagrees with the whistleblower saying that Twitter removes over 300 million bot and spam accounts every single year. Like 1 million a month is what they alleged. What? Oh my God, Charles, it does look like a Trapper Keeper ad. When I went back to school shopping for my kids, there were Trapper Keepers at Staples again. I had such a nostalgia moment. And I'm like, oh, you're doing this because I would buy this for my kid, but that's not what my kid needs. Also, my oldest is in high school. Could you imagine? My oldest is definitely like, Mom, can I just please get a plain 3-ring binder? Like, it's not a big deal. No Trapper Keepers, please. Anyway, before I digress too much. Former head of security. Okay, look, not just a recently fired top Twitter executive, but the former head of security. Way to bury the lead in this. This is the former head of security. Yikes. Amy, why don't they verify all of their users? I don't know. Skeptical Emily would say, do they just want more monthly users? I don't know. I don't know why they don't just verify all their users. They have so much personal information. I don't know. Former head of security. So not just a rando former Twitter exec, but the head of security Twitter exec accuses Twitter of lying about bots to Elon Musk in a whistleblower complaint filed in July with regulators, including the SEC. The SEC deals with not just securities and exchange, but can also deal with some of these deals, a copy of which was obtained by the Washington Post. Musk's team is expected to use the complaint as a basis to argue for wider discovery into Twitter's internal practices and data. Fuck yeah, they will. Immediately. This is going to be filed immediately. And when there is a new motion filed, we will jump in to covering Twitter Elon Musk because I want to see what the lawyers say. It is going to give... Look, Elon's lawyers, I know you're not watching us over here on the YouTubes, but if you are, take a look at the way Matthew Rosengart has wielded the New York Times reporting in the Britney Spears conservatorship. It's woven in beautifully. We would love it if you could just give us the same vibe, please. So if you could just weave in the New York, according to the Washington Post whistleblower this, and according to the Washington Post whistleblower that, weave it into the complaint. We want to see the importance that you think. I'm ready for it. Twitter's internal practices and data is something it could raise at a hearing on Wednesday. Tomorrow. Is this going down is it going down that fast? According to individuals with knowledge of the matter and legal experts who describe the implication of such revelations. Yeah, huge implications. Elon is going to be like, I fucking told you so. I told you they weren't giving us the accurate information. And now we have a whistleblower saying that they weren't giving us the accurate information, which is interesting. The Washington Post supporting Elon. I wonder how they ended up publishing Amber Heard's infamous op-ed. It seems all roads lead to Musk. I will let you all think what you want on that, but they do seem to be supporting Elon. You decide how this article leans, because this is not the underlying whistleblower. This is an evaluation of Twitter versus Musk, which is, by the way, set to go to trial in like 2 months because it's going to be, I think, an injunctive relief trial. So Zach Coe, the former, not former executive, former head of security, a well-known figure in the security community. So if this is someone with a good reputation, it's definitely going to lean heavily in their favor. A well-known figure in the security community alleges Twitter is not incentivized to tally the true number of bots and spammy accounts on the service, which counts 238 million daily users, as he lays out another argument that could give Musk a potential boost in the fight to prove Twitter broke its contract when he agreed to acquire the company for $44 billion, that Twitter deceived regulators regarding its defenses against hackers. A, this is something I want to know as a user of a platform that I have a love-hate relationship. And B, it's something we all should know. All of us should know how our security and our personal data is being secure. Like if a platform has, if you're a politician, popular or not, and you have to sign up for a Twitter account, because if you don't have a Twitter account, you're basically not part of the public conversation anymore. Do you still have to give your cell phone number? Like, how many cell phone numbers does Twitter have? Do you give your manager's number? How do people deal with this? I don't know. But Twitter has numbers and email addresses and DMs. I mean, we saw a Twitter employee convicted of spying for a foreign government. So recently, we haven't even talked about that yet. We should get to that. But there's a lot of access to a lot of information, and often access is power. And information is power. The more you know. Wait, I could have done that better. The more you know. It's close. It's close. We're going with it. So I have a lot of questions here, but this is going to be very, very interesting. Let's see. Importantly, however, Zacko provides limited hard documentary evidence in his complaint regarding spam and bots. A fair criticism to point out what they're seeing and what they're not seeing. So the potential impact of those allegations is difficult to initially gauge. Well, it depends. If they end up testifying, then testimonial evidence is testimonial evidence. If you end up sitting down under oath and testifying about this, that can be enough without hard documents. But it also could be enough for the court to say, yes, we need more discovery. Is this report to try to get regulators to look more into Twitter, or is it to try to help Elon Musk, or both? So, I don't know. Twitter has recently pushed back against the argument that it does not tally or work intensely to combat bots and spam. The conversation about bots around Twitter is just gotten, it's an interesting thing, but it is something the platform has to deal with. How do they define a bot? Is a bot a user who has 6 accounts? Is a bot, and I don't know, where do you determine what a quote unquote bot account is? I think spam is probably a little easier. When my Twitter account had an intrusion into it, they were spamming like Ray-Ban advertisements and shit. And it was a mess. In May, CEO Prang said that the company removes 500,000 spam and bot accounts each day, a number the company updated in July to 1 million a day. How are they removing 1 million a day? That blows my mind. But they're saying, the CEO said that they are removing 1 million spam and bot accounts a day. Can someone please define spam and bot account for me at Twitter? This is my rabbit hole research after this. Quote, Twitter fully stands by our statements about the percentage of spam accounts on our platform and the work we do to fight spam on the platform generally, said Twitter spokesperson Rebecca Han in response to Zatko's allegations. So I am imagining that the Washington Post reached out to all of these people before this ran this morning. Good on you. But any new allegations that Twitter misled shareholders and regulators could bolster Musk's case in the Delaware Chancellery Court in October. Yes. According to half a dozen legal experts who spoke with the Post before the complaint became public, who were not briefed on the complaint. Thank you for making it clear that the legal experts were giving commentary on what if basis, because it's hard to do, but most of them are going to be like, well, it depends. But if you're telling me this, then this. The arguments would depend on the severity of the revelations, as well as the data supporting the new claims and the extent on which Musk relied on such claims in consummating the deal. Agreed with all of that. Quote, we have already issued a subpoena for Mr. Zatko, and we found his exit and that of other key employees curious in light of what we have been finding, said Alex Spiro. If it's not like the dragon, and I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize. A partner at Quinn Emanuel, who is representing Musk in the ongoing litigation with Twitter. Musk did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Musk is too busy doing this. I can't see how this hurts his case. I can't see any downside. Based on what I've read today, I don't see any downside for Musk in all of this coming to light. I do think this bolsters Musk's request for discovery, and I think it will allow him to say, is Twitter hiding the ball more? More information is always better when you are in litigation, especially with a massive company. And Musk has the money to be as petty as he wants to be, sticking it to Twitter. Like, money is not going to be the issue for Musk in this case. Musk, the Tesla and SpaceX CEO, has been angling to exit his deal on the purchase of the social media site. Was this always the game for Musk? Was this always a game? Like, I will pay the money to just like fuck around and find out with Twitter. Like, I just want the information. Was this always a fishing expedition? I'm curious. I'm very, very curious if this was always a fishing expedition. I mean, a $44 billion fishing expedition seems like a lot. But then again, if you just calculate the legal fees to get out of the deal, is it worth it to maybe just be spiteful? I don't know. That's all pure Emily speculation. Just that's where I'm like, but why would you do this? Or was it a genuine, like, let's purchase Twitter, and then when you started seeing things go wrong, we're like, oh no. But this is going to be unpopular. It kind of feels like something Jake Paul would do. It feels like a Paul brother, like, I'll buy your company, and then they get in there and muck around, and they're like, no, fuck you, you're all fucked up. And then they start blasting you on social media. Like, it feels like a troll move. Maybe. That's just when I've been watching all of this, that's just how it's feeling. So with that, you let me know. Does it feel like Musk was just trolling Twitter because he's mad at them? Maybe. Danielle, thank you for putting this up. I might need to write this down and put this on merch. I don't know if it's a hot take. That's just how it feels to me. It feels like a game. It feels like gamifying ripping Twitter a new one publicly. I could be wrong. It could have been totally in good faith. This is just me speculating on everything we've watched pop off, because it seemed like such an odd thing at the beginning. So, bless sir. Hold on. I was trying to pull this up. Me telling the chat to hold on. As if you are my 10-year-old. Hold on. Curious. How rich can the rich get? The answer is there is no limit. The limit does not exist. It's how much all of us will be caught in the crosshairs is part of the question to that. All right. Musk has been angling to exit his deal to purchase Twitter, alleging that Twitter's longtime estimate that the bot and spam accounts make up fewer than 5% of its monetizable daily users is untrue. So that's the key allegation as they're distilling it. 5% of its monetizable daily users. Why does this matter? Here's what I see from just a business perspective. You're selling data on Twitter, you're selling advertisers, you're selling super users, you're selling all kinds of upsells, you're selling like Twitter Blue and all this other stuff. Selling everything short of like verification on Twitter, which is not for sale. You have to apply or have somebody apply on your behalf. But Twitter, if it's more than 5%, does that affect the future financial health, or could it affect the future financial health of the company? So if I'm looking to buy a company and you're saying, look, these bot and spam accounts make up fewer than 5% of monetizable daily users. Okay, but what if that's not true? And if that's not true, then the financial health of this company may not be what the purchaser thought. So I can understand that rationale. It goes on to say he terminated his agreement to buy Twitter, alleging its miscount of bots would present material adverse effect. Yeah, less money. A fundamental change to the business that, for example, cuts steeply into its value. Keep reading, Emily. They'll just spell it out more concisely than you did. And since it's countersued, and he's since countersued the company for allegedly misleading his team, accusing Twitter of fraud and breach of contract. Yeah, the wheels came off real quick. Zacko is a security pioneer who is known in the industry for his history of exposing software flaws under the handle Mudge. Look, if I'm ever in the position where I am handling a chief technology officer and they don't have a hacker handle, I don't know how I'll feel about that. I feel like you need to know both sides of this. The only way you're going to be able to white hat on a platform is also to be able to black hat that shit. Because, I'm just saying. But I love that his Twitter, or that his not Twitter handle, that his hacker handle is Mudge. His tenure at Twitter, however, was controversial, resulting in repeated clashes with fellow executives and ultimately his firing, which is where some people are going to come out and say this might be sour grapes. The complaint alleges that Twitter misled regulators from the FTC and SEC. The FTC and SEC won't let him be, on security issues. That's a big deal. If Twitter did, in fact, mislead regulators, the federal government isn't going to be thrilled. Here's the thing, though. If the current makeup of the government has liked the way Twitter has, deplatformed certain users or helped bury certain stories in media organizations when they bring up those stories, will the regulators do anything about this? That is my question. If they're misleading regulators, normally you would see the wrath of the federal government. But if the federal government feels like, yeah, but we kind of like what Twitter's doing and we kind of agree with the people that they ban and we kind of agree with the way that they do things, are they going to crack down on this? That's the other thing I want to see. So I not only want to see how this plays out in the court with regard to Twitter versus Elon Musk and Elon Musk versus Twitter. I want to see how it plays out in court, but I also want to see if the FTC and the SEC do anything. Are you going to do anything? Is the federal government going to crack down on Twitter? And shouldn't that be a bipartisan effort? Like, can't we all get behind misleading regulators when you are a monolith company is bad? And then this is all going to stir up some of the Section 230 conversations that have been kicking around the government. And again, I think Section 230 should be bipartisan too, and it doesn't seem to be. But I don't understand why. Have real conversations. Social media has evolved, speech has evolved, and the government has to evolve ways to deal with it. So I'm curious. These are the things we're going to continue to see. Do I think Twitter will get taken down? No, I would just like to see them look into it. I want to see them look into it. Just investigate it. That's it. That's it. Question, what does bipartisan mean? Every side of the aisle, politically diverse sides of the aisle. It shouldn't be that hard. It should be okay. So everyone, all of the politicians, they should be able to agree. They should be able to agree to talk about this. So I'm just curious, because there are definitely some that feels like the federal government doesn't want to touch some of these companies because they like what they do. I think that this is a good opportunity for federal regulators to show that they are investigating these things and that they aren't just friendly to monolith companies. I'm sure that Twitter and Facebook would disagree with that take. Just curious. Just curious. Let's see. The true number of bot and spam accounts on Twitter is likely to be meaningfully higher than the figure Twitter claims, the complaint alleges. This is the complaint from the whistleblower. Meaningfully being a big word there. Twitter executives have little or no personal incentive to accurately detect or measure the prevalence of spam bots. The complaint alleges adding deliberate ignorance was the norm among its executive team. A redacted version of the 84-page filing went to congressional committees. The Post obtained a copy of the disclosure from a senior Democratic aide on Capitol Hill. The allegations about the bots strengthens Musk's case for sure, because when you have someone with inside knowledge, said Anthony Casey, a professor of law and economics at University of Chicago Law School. But he cautioned that the allegations don't seem to be a smoking gun because there doesn't appear to be concrete evidence that the company was intentionally lying about the number of bots. And that's going to be interesting as well. So that will be interesting. It has to be more than just, quote, you guys were sloppy about this because you don't really care, Casey said. It adds to Musk's case, but I still think he's got a weak case. The allegations could be a jumping off points for Musk's legal team to seek more information. Yes, agreed. As he seeks to bolster his argument, yeah, he's going to push for more discovery because of this. That's it. That's what's going to happen. That's what should happen. It gives them a reason to dig in, said Robert Penza, an attorney at the law firm Posinelli, who practices in the Delaware Court of Chancery. It still cracks me up that some of the East Coast courts, like California was so boring with the courts, but the East Coast courts have such a longer history, just, have been around much longer. Some of them still carry kind of English tradition names, and it always kind of cracks me up. Still, he said Musk would likely have to show that Twitter intentionally had misleading information in its financial statements and that those substantially skewed the business. We will see. Multiple divisions at Twitter are in charge of fighting spam and bots. As the head of security, Zacko was not directly responsible for eradicating bots, but his role touched upon some aspects of bot removal. Zacko was fired long before Musk's initial Twitter investment became public in April. 4 people familiar with the company's process for spam detection who, like others, spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe sensitive internal matters, told the Post that the company keeps several internal tallies of spams and bots known as prevalence across the service beyond the number supplied to Wall Street. But how do they determine that? Sorry, I forgot to make this bigger. How do they determine that? How did they determine that? How do they determine what is a bot and what is spam? I don't know if I can find that that information anywhere. That might just be internal information, but I would be very interested to see. The Post also obtained an internal document, which was redacted to hide the numbers, showing that spam prevalence was a number shared with the board. The document was supplied to the board at a meeting Zacko attended, according to 2 of the people. 4 people said the social media company estimates the broader amount of spam and bots on the service using software to sample thousands of tweets each day, as well as 100 accounts that are not sampled, as well as 100 accounts that are sampled manually. 3 of the people said the company's internal bot prevalence numbers were almost always less than 5%. Interesting. Twitter's hand said the company is transparent about the number of accounts it removes for violating its rules. That's different. That's different than spam and bots. Violating terms of service is a whole different thing. In addition, there are many rule-following bots that are allowed to stay. How do you determine who a rule-following bot is? I still don't know how Twitter defines a bot account. Okay. The company doesn't report the total number of bots because it would just be a minimum number of the ones they've caught, she said. The internal measure of prevalence focuses on how many people are seeing the rule-breaking bots. Wait, they determine the difference? So they determine rule breaking bots versus not rule breaking bots? Okay. The internal measure of prevalence focuses on how many people are seeing quote unquote rule breaking bots, which the company believes is the more accurate measure of potential harm than the overall count, since many bots are inactive. Well, if they're inactive, just remove them. What? Good bots, bad bots. See, I don't know. I still don't know how they determine bot accounts. I still don't know if it's just accounts like this or like weather accounts and stuff that just update like that, or if there's a deeper definition. But I guess we won't know. That's an internal definition that I'm sure regulators have. Twitter and Musk became embroiled in a legal battle this summer after Musk backed out of his deal to buy the social media company. Twitter filed suit alleging he had breached his contract. They're like, no, perform, damn it. Perform. Court, make him buy Twitter. In response, Musk filed a countersuit late last month, alleging a spat of new issues, including that the vast majority of ads are shown to fewer than 16 million users. That's a tiny fraction of the 238 million daily active users that Twitter claims could earn the company revenue in or by viewing ads. And then this gets into the litigation, not anymore into the recent whistleblower. I'm interested to see. Here's my questions. How does Twitter define a bot or spam account? What is the definition that they're working with? It's probably something hopelessly vague, like I know it when I see it, which is difficult. How do they determine? Chat, you're giving me life. Are they all Autobots? Is that what they are? Are they just the Autobots? Are those the only ones that are defined as bots? So, and there are other bots that like will take a thread, like is it called Thread Me? I think it's Thread Me. There are bots that will like thread Twitter feeds and stuff like that. So I understand that there are some that have a function on the platform, like Nightbot has a function here on the channel. We should ask Nightbot. Nightbot, are you also on Twitter? Is your handle also Nightbot or Sassy Nightbot? Anyway, here's my questions. Will this allow Elon Musk to get more discovery? And how sassy will the filing his lawyers put forth before the court based on this reporting be? Will the SEC and the FTC look into whether or not Twitter actually misled regulators? And will we see this being looked into more? Or will this be a report and everybody will go, huh? And then we won't see any more from this. Those are my questions. What happens next? So some of you are saying, no, they're Decepticons. Well, I guess maybe there's two kinds because we're hearing from Twitter that there are good bots and bad bots. So maybe there is just a war for the bots. One of these days, we'll talk about AI programs getting out of control. We're going to tangent. We're going to tangent for our next story. Hold on. I wasn't going to talk about this today, but we're going to. It kind of is legally related. It's kind of legally related. It's kind of legally related. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I need to find the source article real quick. I don't know where the source article I saw was. Oh, where is it? I'm looking for it. All right, we're going with the source article from BET. Here we go. We need to take a moment to talk about Capitol Records' newest artist that they've signed to their label, because this has legal implications that we are going to be talking about on this channel in the future and more. I don't know how many of y'all are on the Tiki Talk Talks. Yes, I'm on the TikTok some. It's so funny to me. Occasionally, people will come up to me in public and be like, oh my God, you're the lawyer with the purple hair on TikTok. I'm like, what? You know me from? They are invariably younger, but I'm like, you know me, you recognize me from TikTok? That's very interesting. It always surprises me. But Capitol Records has signed its first AI artist. The artificial intelligence rapper known as FN Mecca or Mika, I don't know, has released a single called Florida Water featuring Gunna and gaming streamer Clicks. Look. Capitol Records is entering the metaverse by signing an AI artist. The lawyers who are writing these contracts are having to deal with concepts that have never been really fully considered before and trying to make concepts of law fit in the metaverse. So this is an AI rapper that is on Twitter that has millions of followers on Twitter. But how in the world are these contracts working? Who gets paid residuals? Who's getting paid? Who has control? Who is in control of the AI, if anyone? Who gets to make these decisions? It's just wild to me. So yes, we have seen digital artists, and with the technology, we've seen artists perform via hologram at Coachella. So if you can have artists that are deceased perform, couldn't you in theory just hologram an AI artist on a stage, or just put up a screen and have a concert? You could have a virtual concert in the metasphere. They did that during the vid as well. But now we have Capitol Records actually signing an artist. Do I think that other agencies and records will try to now sign artists to put a stake in the metaverse? Yes. I think this is going to, we've seen AI influencers in the past because it's like, hey, it's an AI influencer. We can manipulate them all the way down to what they talk about, what their thoughts are, what their opinions are, what their face looks like, what their body looks like. So we've already seen AI generated, and not just full artificial intelligence, but virtual influencers on platforms like TikTok and Instagram, where they really aren't even real people. So who is behind this? I have seen Dolly. I think Doll-E is the next wave of creating thumbnails for YouTube. I really do. So, and yes, we've absolutely had pure digital bands. I know we have, but this is a very interesting choice, because again, I don't know who controls the AI. I just don't know. Or if it's actual artificial intelligence, then it determines itself. And then I don't know. I'm totally blanking on the name of the AI from the Iron Man movies who killed Jarvis. But when I think AI, I generally go dark. And that's a problem. So let's see. The new artist dropped the first single. The AI rapper was created by virtual record label. There we go. Factory New. Okay. So Factory New is the virtual record label is going to be receiving all of the royalties and things like that. Ultron, thank you. That's exactly what it is. That's what I'm thinking of. Ultron. Is this like Ultron? Is it full AI, or is it a virtual still controlled? Like, how AI is the AI? Is it self-determined? I have questions. The AI rapper was created by virtual record labels Factory New, with Mecca being their first signee. The company's co-founder, Anthony Martini. Anthony, I need to know, is that your given name? Is this a stage name? Martini's a fantastic last name, especially if you're in the entertainment industry. I love it. I love it so much. The process explain the process in an interview last year with the publication. The old model of finding talent is ineffective and unreliable. Oh shit. Humans beware. Humans beware. Chelsea, I know that AI and virtual aren't the same. That's why I want to know. I want to know, is this really AI? Or is this kind of AI? I need to know. I have questions. The old model of finding talent is ineffective and unreliable. So we'll just create what people want instead of having, okay. It requires spending time scouring the internet, traveling to shows, flying to meetings, expending resources, all in the search of the magical combination of qualities that just might translate into a superstar act. Even with all the money labels devote to finding talent, the success rate is a pitiful 1%. Now we can literally custom create artists using elements proven to work, greatly increasing the odds of success. Even if we get a 2% success rate, then we've doubled the industry standard. Are we terrified? Do we love it? Oh my. He continued, sharing he would love to pivot from having a human voice perform the vocals and are in development to having the computer create its own sound for the robot and perform its words. So someone is like the ghost writer of this. Someone is the ghost singer behind all of this. We've developed a proprietary AI technology that analyzes certain popular songs of it. So it is Wally. Dolly. Oh, Wally, damn it. We've developed proprietary AI technology that analyzes certain popular songs of a specified genre and generates recommends for the various elements of the song construction, lyrical content, chords, melody, tempo, sounds, etc. We then combine these elements to create a song. But do you have to also create the artist? I understand using this to create a song. This is all just money. This is all just money. I don't know, man. As of now, a human voice performs the vocals, but we are working towards, well, that answers a lot of questions. How much is that human voice getting paid? Get your bag, man. Whoever the human voice is behind this, get residuals on the back end. Don't take a flat rate for your day of work. Get your residuals on the back end. The thing about live music is that it's transformational. This is just listening to a CD. Do I sound like a boomer? I'm sorry if that makes me sound old. I love live music. Anyone that has kids knows that the future is virtual. I don't know. What I'm seeing a lot of from kids my teens age is they're starting to want in-person experiences more. They're buying record players because they like doing things that are more analog. I don't know if they want to live in the future. They've all read Ready Player One and Ready Player Two. I don't know if they are ready to live in the Oasis just yet. I'm just saying, I don't know if that's good for us as humans. Social media has made us more disconnected. I'm going to get off my soapbox. We're going to keep talking about AI recording artists. Factory New is creating celebrities for that world. What's going to happen when people can like buy the celebrities and like be them? It's like, oh, what if Elon Musk is like, oh, I want to be a rapper in the metaverse. So I'm just going to buy this digital AI and then I get to control them like a joystick. This is weird. This is weird. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. All right, we'll see. TikTok has been an amazing platform for us. In less than a year, we've gained over 9 million followers, which have led to a ton of opportunities from brand partnerships to artist collabs. You can listen to the first single below for Florida Water. We're gonna be talking about this more. I'm not done. Record deals in the metaverse. Look, if you're considering going to law school, this isn't going away. This is an area you need to understand. If you are young enough to be going to college or you're going around for the second time, technology, technology, technology. There are so many in the field of everything, marketing, law, medicine, everything. Because now half of medicine feels like it's done with joysticks or at least surgery. And that's going to continue. That you're doing things with the computer guided, which again, allows people to do things that humans can't do. I get it. But if you understand technology and then go on to whatever your profession is, intellectual property, marketing, social media management, AI systems, this is going to be a space where there are not going to be elders in the field. half the lawyers I know can't check their email competently. Like this is just going to be, um, this is the future, especially of professions, to understand this type of tech and be able to see where it's going. So we're going to see. This is not the first time, but this is the first time Capitol Records has signed an AI artist. This is going to be this is going to continue to be big news. Is this a novelty that's going away? Probably not. Are we going to see virtual influencers grow? Probably. Because if a company can work with a virtual influencer, I mean, they're not going to have a scandal down the road. They're not going to have an embarrassing or incriminating tweet from when they were in high school or college surface because they've been created. They're lab created influencers. But you lose, I don't know, when everything is so perfectly manipulated, I think we lose a little bit of compassion for the whole thing that is being human. And being human is a messy and difficult and fascinating and wonderful experience. So we will see. But I can't help but feel this feels like a lot of money and a lot of companies making money without having to pay an artist that never gets tired, an artist that's never going to need a break, an artist that's never going to struggle with what's said about them on social media, an artist that's not going to have those human struggles that then translate into music that we all connect with. Will it be fun to add to the universe of music? Yes. I just hope it doesn't take over the universe of music. So, with that, let's move on. It just whoo. It's all right. It's going to be interesting. Y'all, it's going to be interesting. Let's talk. Emily, did you plan a segue? No, but is it here? Yes. Let's talk about how fucking messy it can be to be human. It's time to talk about Tom and Erika Girardi. Did you like that segue? It was good, right? It was a good segue. What should we talk about first? Should we talk about Tom Girardi's Mistress or should we talk about Erika going to court? Let's talk about Erika going to court because I need to decide if I'm going to court. So let's talk about it. And then we will get to NeNe Leakes dropping her suit. I've tangented and added stories today, which means we're gonna have to tighten up how much I talk about some of this stuff, but that's okay. That's okay. All right, let's go for what's going on with the Girardi case. I'm not going to give a whole primer on the Girardi case. I've done it a lot. Disbarred attorney Tom Girardi, his wife Erika Girardi, Erika Jane, is on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. There are two, count them, two bankruptcies. Emily, is your brain functioning on all cylinders? No. There are two bankruptcies that are still ongoing. One personal property, one the law firm property. There's been a ton of back and forth with regard to what property Erika has. Does it need to go back into the bankruptcy? Was it purchased by the law firm and then purchased with funds that should be going to clients? The law firm bankruptcy is trying to pay out clients and other creditors that didn't get paid. In the law firm bankruptcy, the creditors are up to an estimated $100 million. That's nowhere near where the assets are. It's similar, but not as high of a number in the personal bankruptcy. The assets are not going to match all of the creditors that are owed. There are lawsuits everywhere. We've been covering this for 2 years. It's so much stuff. But what's going on is something that was going on when this bankruptcy broke, and this is regarding Joe Ruigomez. If you watch The Housewife and The Hustler, you will be familiar with Joe Ruigomez, his wife, and then their family friend. This has been something that has been covered extensively. Joe Ruigomez and his family, him being the plaintiff, but his family was also impacted. They were all there, injured in a gas line break. Tom Girardi was their attorney. He won a $12 million settlement. Tom Girardi wasn't paying it out, had to take Tom Girardi back to court, got a judgment for the $11 million that hadn't been paid out. Tom Girardi paid a payment and then stopped paying it. They had to get a lawyer to attach all of Tom Girardi's property, the home out there, the home in Pasadena, and everything else. Attach all the property so when it got sold, they got paid, and then everything went into bankruptcy. At the time that this was going down, they were trying to do a debtor examination of Erika Girardi. What do you have? What do you know? Where is the money? This was fleshed out in The Housewife and the Hustler. She had been served. That got frozen by the bankruptcy when the bankruptcy happened. If all of you have watched The House or The Office, Michael's like, I declare bankruptcy. That's not how it happened. But bankruptcy freezes all these other actions. So Erika Girardi was supposed to go in and give an examination to the court under oath in front of the court in open court. And all of that got frozen. She didn't go. It was alleged in The Housewife and the Hustler. But then everything got frozen. So now they are seeking to have her give a debtor exam in court next month, September 26th, 8:30 a.m., Division 56, Hill Street. Here's the thing. Do we just go? I feel like we just go. It's going to be a long day on the 26th, but I feel like I could just go. All right, let's keep going because I'll already be in town for Vid Summit. Application for an order for examination, judgment creditor, third person who has possession or control of property belonging to the judgment debtor or defendant who owes the judgment debtor more than $250, etc. So this is the official paperwork. This is the case number. It's been filed. Let's go to the next filing and show you. So this, if this doesn't get put over, I'm in a position where I can actually do that. How long has it been since I've had to be in court at 8:30 in the morning? A while. Let's go ahead and take a look at the declaration of the attorney and get a little bit more information here. This attorney is Boris Trazian from the Axe Law Firm. If you're like, hey, I've heard of that law firm before. Yes, the Axe Law Firm is deeply entrenched with these bankruptcies. Boris Trazian is the special investigator with regard to the personal property in the personal bankruptcy for Tom Girardi. But he's also being sued by the bankruptcy trustee for the law firm over clients that the Axe Law Firm and the Boris Trazian of Aber, Cohen, and Trazian, clients that the bankruptcy trustee, and I went over this almost 2 years ago, that the bankruptcy trustee is saying that the Axe Law Firm took from the crumbling Girardi firm improperly, and they want them back because they want the attorney's fees, because as these cases continue to settle, the bankruptcy trustee wants the attorney's fees to go back into the bankruptcy to be distributed to the bankruptcy creditors. So Axe had been a co-counsel with Girardi on other cases and had taken in some of those clients, the bankruptcy trustee says improperly. So there's a lawsuit between the bankruptcy trustee for the law firm and the special counsel for the private bankruptcy, but they're also representing one of the creditors in both actions because if you guys are like, you need string, yes, because the Rigomez family are creditors in both bankruptcies. Y'all breathe, right? So I don't know how all of that is working without it being a conflict, but apparently it's not. And I think when it comes to the creditors, because the special litigator is seeking money, if they disclose this, the court's going to sign off on it because they're seeking money on behalf of all creditors. So let's look at that's a long explanation of what is going on here. It's so much stuff. And I think with them being special litigator, they would have had to disclose this representation of the Rigomez family. Let us continue. Declaration of Boris Trazian. I, Boris Trazian, declare I'm an attorney admitted to practice in California. I make this declaration in support of plaintiff's application in order for appearance and examination of third-party Erika Jane Girardi. I mean, it's Erika Girardi, aka Erika Jane, but whatever. I have personal knowledge of the facts contained herein. On or about April 20, 2020, the court entered into a stipulated judgment against defendants and judgment debtors Thomas Girardi and Girardi Keys in the amount of $11 million. On or about October 21st, 2021, a total of $596,000 was paid to plaintiffs by judgment debtors. No other payments have been made. Under the Code of Civil Procedure, interest continues to accrue on the judgment at 10% per annum, totaling over $2.4 million in accrued interest to date, totaling the full judgment amount to $13.4+ million. On or about December 18th, 2020, judgment debtor Tom Girardi filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The only reason I challenge is because this was not a filed bankruptcy. Tom Girardi, and this is me being picky, but Tom Girardi was forced into Chapter 7 bankruptcy by his debtors, which is significant to me because he didn't say, oh, the shit's out of the horse, we have to go into bankruptcy. He was forced into bankruptcy by his creditors, which the Axe law firm knows or would know. So I just think it's imprecise. But again, this is me being picky in the details. He didn't file. It was a forced Chapter 7, different procedures. On or about July 6, 2021, the bankruptcy court entered an order granting relief to the plaintiffs, Joe Ruigomez, Jamie Ruigomez, and Kathleen Ruigomez from the automatic stay. What that means is on July 6, 2021, over a year ago, they were allowed to proceed with this case outside of the bankruptcy stay. The court order was granted in order for plaintiffs to, and this is what they were allowed to continue doing, quote, continue post-judgment collection actions against Erika Girardi. And we're seeing numerous cases do this. They are seeking to go after Erika because Erika is not in bankruptcy. Erika is tangentially connected to the bankruptcy because she is still the spouse, I guess estranged spouse, at this point of Tom Girardi. But on these bankruptcies, it's Tom Girardi and Tom Girardi's law firm, not Erika. So with that, they were allowing the bankruptcy stay to not apply to Erika. And we've seen this be requested by other law firms in other actions as well. Let us go forward against Erika. I think the Ruigomez family has the best claim to it because they attached all marital property, or a lot of marital property, including the house, which is now in the bankruptcy. But let us continue. A true and correct copy of the bankruptcy court's order is attached hereto as Exhibit 1, at all times relevant. Erika Jane Girardi, again, I would put it Erika Girardi, aka Erika Jane, because Erika Jane is her stage name, was judgment debtor. At all relevant times, Erika Jane was judgment debtor Thomas Girardi's legal spouse. Erika can thus furnish information to aid the enforcement of money judgment against judgment debtor and additional judgment debtors, and provide information as to the assets, locations of assets, and or business activity of judgment debtors for the purpose of satisfying the judgment. Executed this 10th day of August 2022, and then they attached that previous court order allowing them to continue to pursue Erika Girardi and not step into what's going on not continue to step into what's going on with regard to the rest of the bankruptcy. So let us pull up the next thing. I'm just typing a note, which is rare for me. All right, let us get on to the rest of this. So the court, let's see, where's our minute order? Let's pull up the last thing. This is from January 4th. And the reason I pull this up is because this gives us the dates of when everything was taken off calendar. So it lets us know what was going on when the full bankruptcy stay went into effect. Pursuant to request of plaintiff, the hearing application for order for advanced examination as to Erika Girardi scheduled for January 4th, 2021 is advanced and vacated. So this had been on calendar and was on calendar before the stay of bankruptcy, December 2nd. So this got put over, well, we're now in August 2022 for quite a substantial amount of time when they were trying to get a examination of Erika Girardi. Does Erika Girardi have to appear in court? Yes. Are these public hearings? Yes. Am I going to continue to look at the docket and see if there's motions regarding this, if this gets put over or what have you? Yes. Lisa Hicks asked a great question. So Erika can't go into bankruptcy? No. If Erika needed to file a personal bankruptcy, Erika could do that. I don't think we're there yet. Do I think that's a potential down the road? Possibly. But I don't think strategically, I don't think Erika can file for bankruptcy yet because Erika does not know the total amount of debts that she is going to be holding from the fallout of all of this. Erika's life is on hold essentially until all of this is done and is going to be years waiting for the other shoe to drop. The shoes include the US, the IRS, the Franchise Tax Board, the bankruptcy courts, because the bankruptcy court and the personal bankruptcy, the debts they owe together, already said that those aren't going to be discharged. So the bankruptcy court in the personal bankruptcy, personal property, not the law firm, is going to dole out things to creditors. Whoever doesn't get paid are still going to be able to try to collect after Erika. So there are going to be a crater of debts left. And at that point, if I'm her attorneys, I'm strategizing that for down the road once you know how many debts are left. That seems to make the most logical sense to me, is you wait and see exactly what you're left holding and then you strategize it from there. So Susie Q makes an excellent point, but she started at the beginning of the season saying that everything had been disproven. She also said that we don't know if all these people are entitled to money. Look, when it comes to the Ruiz Gomez family, we absolutely know. Bright Eyes also reminded everyone taxes are not dischargeable in bankruptcy. Look, their vet bill for the racehorses in Florida is not going to be dischargeable in bankruptcy because the bankruptcy court is not allowing those to be discharged. Erika is going to have a crater of debt and lawsuits after this. That's just the reality of it. I know there are lots on the internet that just want her to pay and want to wipe her off the face of the internet. But if she is not working, she is not paying any of this back. So what do? She's going to be left holding the bag. Let us continue. I mean, in addition to the fact that all of Tom Girardi's clients have been left holding the bag for his theft because they did not get paid. Not all. All is too much. The ones that we have seen. So it's not just Erika alone holding that. So with that, we'll see. SLH asked a great question too, and then we're going to move on to the Mistress. I've missed a lot of coverage, so excuse the question. It's okay. How is Erika on the hook? In this, it's for marital property. And the reason she's being examined with this debtor exam is to give information about where the money is. It's $13 million owed to a plaintiff who was catastrophically injured through something that was not their fault, and their attorney did not pay them. So where is the money? Where can we get it? Where are the accounts? They're allowed to inquire into all of that. But for the debts that are attached to personal property and the personal debts, they are married. So that is how they are. That is how she is attached. So, Tom Girardi's Mistress. I'm going to give a little bit of background on this because I already see the questions in the chat that some of you were like, I missed this. Right, because at the beginning, all of this was really just kind of salacious gossip. It wasn't legally relevant other than the fact that the Mistress was a judge, but it's relevant because the Mistress just gave back some of the gifts given to her by Tom Girardi. We also have to talk about the rules regarding judges and their gifts. Look, this case is not going anywhere anytime soon, but let's talk about Tom Girardi's Mistress, Erika doxing Tom Girardi's Mistress and all the shit that went with it. Yep, you heard me right. We're going back to an article from December 19th, 2020. I vividly remember this going down. I think I still have screenshots because I didn't realize we'll get back to that in a minute. I didn't realize that when Erika shared these screenshots on social media, that the screenshots or the photos of screenshots, I'll show you what they are, of Tom's like freaking flip phone still had the phone number of the judge on them. And that was still an actual phone number. So when Erika Girardi shared these images on social media, they still had a phone number at the top. That, in fact, was the judge's real phone number. So Erika had a whole moment. They came down pretty quick, but I remember sitting on my couch watching it go down, being like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Like it was just, it was just wild. And it seems that there are times that Erika acts out of emotion on social media. I think this is probably one of those times. Erika Jane shares text messages from Tom Girardi's alleged mistress, claims he was paying her bills. The judge came out and said that yes, in fact, she and Tom Girardi had a relationship and she was not married at the time. She was single and they had a relationship. This has nothing to do with the stack. The stack was Sweet James, not Tom Girardi. I don't think Tom Girardi well, we're just going to keep that to ourselves. All right. Getting more complicated on Friday, December 18th. Oh, sweet summer children. This is 2020. Erika Jane posted, then later deleted screenshots of multiple text messages alleging that they showed conversations between her estranged husband, Tom Girardi, and another woman. This is Justice, oh good, they blurred out the phone number. The phone number was at the top of these. This is Justice Trisha A. Bigelow. She was fucking my husband, Tom Girardi, and he was paying her Saks bill, not Stacks, Saks bills, and paying for her plastic surgery. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Star 49 captioned the post. The photos appear to be from a much older phone. The dates listed captured in the screenshot appear to be from 2011 because the internet went investigating on all of this. So these are photos of things that were in his flip phone. She's talked about the fact that he used a flip phone on the show. And just, you know, tonight was fantastic, really, but it would be a whole lot better if I were intimate with you. Miss you, babe. Makeup sex. I can't believe it. Dr. Matlock is already calling me asking for a check, and then it gives the address for the check to be sent and seems to indicate that Tom Girardi was, in fact, paying for things. Somebody asked, is it stacks of Saks bills? Possibly. That's pure speculation. Although the rumors were that the Pretty Mess singer and her Tom 81 had an agreement in terms of being with other people, that wasn't the case during their marriage, a source told Us Weekly on Friday. A second source confirmed to us that the Bravo personality strongly believed her husband had been cheating. Miss you, babe, makeup sex is probably a strong indication that people are having relationships outside of their relationship. All right, so that's the background. This went down in 2020. Erika put this all out there with the phone number of the private individual, which again, I don't know if she knew. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. I don't know. Let's get to the prominent retired justice returns gift from disgraced lawyer Tom Girardi, her ex-boyfriend. There are rules about judicial reporting of gifts. The rules are deeply picky and specific. There is a exception for the rules if you are in a dating relationship. You do not have to disclose everything that your paramour has gifted to you. But if you are a judge, you have to disclose gifts. Why? Because malfeasance exists, bribery exists, things are bad, and they want to make sure that judges aren't getting paid off with, I don't know, fancy parties. Like Tom Girardi's alleged to have done for years with investigators from the state bar. The LA Times was on that too. Has the LA Times reporting on this by Harriet Ryan and Matt Hamilton been great? I think so. I think it's been great. They continue to dig in. So Tom Girardi, Erika Girardi, and Trisha A. Bigelow. Let's continue on. A retired California appellate justice who carried on a 4-year affair with Tom Girardi has returned numerous gifts from the now disgraced lawyer to a bankruptcy trustee an attorney for the former justice has said. Funny enough, that attorney is former LA County Deputy District Attorney who actually ran for District Attorney, but that's probably more information than you all want to know. It's just funny seeing familiar names in these articles sometimes. Trisha A. Bigelow, who stepped down last year as presiding justice of an appellate court division in Los Angeles, handed over gifts this week after the Times asked for an explanation of checks Girardi wrote to her in 2017, including one for $5,000 from his law firm's bank account. Oh, well, looky here. Because she got, I don't want to say exposed, but the relationship was brought to light in 2020. Nothing was returned then. But the LA Times is like, excuse me, we have questions. This is why I'm an advocate for asking questions. The LA Times is like, excuse me, we have questions. And then it's like, here, take it back. Take it back. Interesting how that works out. Even if there's nothing wrong with her receiving gifts from someone she's dating, you can't be receiving things directly from the law firm's bank account. Did that check go directly to her? Did she see it? Did she see the heading from the bank account from the law firm? What the fuck, man? An attorney for Bigelow said her romance with Girardi had concluded by then and that she could find no record of having cashed that check or one for $10,000 from an account Girardi shared with his wife, Erika. At least it came from a personal account. But the inquiry apparently prompted Bigelow to turn over other gifts to the trustee overseeing the defunct law firm Girardi Keese. Justice Bigelow does not want anything even potentially connected with the monies Girardi took from his client victims. Good. Her attorney, Alan Jackson, told the Times in an interview on Thursday, good. Also, have I lived my life wrong? These are not the level of gifts that we are getting over here. Dr. B, where are the $10,000 checks? He's like, no, that kind of money goes to an HVAC system. What are you talking about? This is not the world I live in. But at least the check for $10,000 appears to come from personal funds, which, I mean, okay. And of course, Erika's not doing the bookkeeping. She's not seeing money coming out of their joint account going to the mistress. Hundreds of former Girardi clients say the legendary lawyer stole tens of millions of dollars from their settlements. I mean, the total amount for everything is over $100 million, but that includes like lenders, attorney lenders, and stuff like that. He said that during the affair that began in 2012, who said? Oh, here, Bigelow's attorney, Alan Jackson. Alan Jackson refused to identify the total value of the gifts returned or describe them. Well, now we all want to know. Was he giving her art? What was he giving? Damn it, you've made us all more curious. But I guess attorney-client privacy. He said that during the affair that began in 2012 and ended in September 2016, the justice believed Girardi was a successful attorney and had no reason to suspect there was a possibility that the gifts derived from misappropriated client funds. She's horrified and appalled that she was the unknowing recipient of tainted gifts. Does that make it tainted love? I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. I feel like it is tainted love. Tainted love. Yep. Jackson said, adding that this is the most lawyerly statement ever. This is not a PR statement. This is a lawyer PR statement. She's horrified and appalled that she was the unknowing recipient of tainted gifts, disgorged all gifts she's aware of over the last 2 days. So she returned it. The court-appointed trustee who he said received the gifts, Elisa Miller, has worked for more than a year and a half to marshal whatever assets remain in an attempt to eventually compensate the former clients. If they are gifts of a physical thing, are they going to have to be auctioned off again? And if they are, will we then get to know what the gifts are? Art, jewelry, whatever? Because those are the tangible kinds of things you can return. I don't know if they're just giving cash back. I mean, it's possible that they're just giving cash back to the trustee, but is it jewelry? Is it art, furniture? It's what? What are you giving back to the trustee? Because They've already done the big auction. So if other auction items pop up, then maybe we can try to surmise what was given. I don't know. Was this who the red lingerie that has ended up with Ryan Bailey was intended for? Who knows? Miller declined to comment. Girardi, 83, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease last year and is in a court-ordered conservatorship. Thus far, scrutiny is focused on his on his estranged wife, True, who filed her divorce late 2020 after 2 decades of marriage. Her free spending was a through line of her recording career and her appearances on Housewives. At the trustee's request, a judge this summer ordered a pair of $750,000 diamond earrings to be returned. That the reality star received as gifts from her husband to be sold, with the proceeds going to pay cheated clients. An attorney for Erika Girardi said the return of the gifts by Bigelow and the terms on which they were accepted should be laid out in a public court filing. I agree. It should. I would like to see a public accounting of what Justice Bigelow says she received and what she has returned to the trustee. I agree with Evan Borges. I want to see it too. The trustee has signaled that she plans to go after others who got money and other valuables from Girardi. An attorney for Miller wrote last month that during a comprehensive review of Girardi's financial records, the trustee has identified numerous transfers of interest and property of the estate to third parties and wants the court permission to hire more lawyers to track down and possibly seize those assets. Robert K. Rasmussen, a bankruptcy expert and professor at USC's Gould School of Law, said that the law allows a trustee to go after gifts distributed by a debtor in the 4 years before they entered into bankruptcy. And this is where Evan Borges is fighting on behalf of Erika Jane, saying, like, look, these earrings were given to her so long ago, they don't fall into that time frame. And we're actually seeing Erika, yes, Erika turned over the earrings. The earrings got turned over, but he's appealing it. Erika's appealing it. The thought is you really shouldn't be giving away any money when it's coming out. The thought is you really shouldn't be giving away money when it is coming out of the hide of people to whom you owe money, Rasmussen said. When you are insolvent, every dollar you give away is $1 less to give to your creditors. The relationship between Bigelow, 62, and Girardi was revealed by his wife shortly after the 2020 collapse of the firm, posted on Instagram a collage of screenshots. He was paying her tax bills. Some messages show Bigelow asking Girardi to send a check to a cosmetic surgeon in West Hollywood and included the doc's address. Please remember, she texted. Erika later deleted the post, but supporters deluged Bigelow's cell phone with threats. I don't understand why that's the response. Like, why is that the response? Look, I am old. I did not have cell phones in, high school and college. We used AOL chat rooms. Like, I am in my mid-40s. I don't understand the response of, oh, this person was having an affair with this disgusting man who was cheating his clients. I'm going to send her threats on her cell phone. Why is that the response? I just don't get the response to be like, let's threaten this person's life. What? A, never okay. But B, why this individual? Did she choose to carry on an extramarital affair? Seems like it. Did she probably know Tom was married? I can't imagine that she didn't, because his wife prominently went with him to shit. Did they care? Doesn't seem to be. Is that everyone's morality? Sure the fuck isn't. But why the death threats? Like, that's between the three of them. I just don't understand. Anyway, I think death threats are, it actually, the problem is that it works and it does scare people. It does rattle them. It does change the way that they live. It does cause emotional distress, which is why people do it. But it's just, look, man, Tom Girardi is the linchpin in all of this, and he's in a conservatorship where nothing can touch him. Be outraged about that. And if you want to spam somebody with messages of support to his clients that are still fighting this, maybe. Hey, what happens to you sucked. Maybe that. Asked whether the recently returned gifts include the cost of cosmetic surgery, her attorney Jackson said, quote, medical procedures are personal and private issues, and it would be inappropriate to comment on anything related to a medical procedure. Bigelow has said she recused herself from handling any cases involving Girardi or his firm after the affair began. Well, that's the minimal. You have to do that. Judges in California are required to make an annual disclosure of gifts they receive, but there's an exception for gifts received in a dating relationship. She married another attorney in 2018 after her retirement from the bench. She signed on with a private judging firm in LA. I will have to look. But there was a private judging firm that Girardi was very, very close to. And this is where judges make a lot of money when they retire. Girardi used private judges heavily, some that he seemed to have conflicts with. We talk tomorrow in the podcast about private judging because it comes up in the Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt divorce FBI investigation thing. But I wonder if it's the firm that he always went to. That's my curiosity. I haven't looked into it yet, but I'm going to. So, her attorney said she has a long record of always being a staunch advocate of victims of crime and is focused on doing her part to make sure, at least in this case, the victims are made whole. I mean, you guys can take what you want away from that, but question a lot of you, what is private judging? So when judges retire, they can be hired for mediation. They can be hired so things come out of the public eye. I talk about it a bit tomorrow, so I'm going to use the example of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. When they were deciding child custody, they went to a private judge and sat down and did the days and days and days of hearings that they needed to do to determine child custody. That judge was later disqualified. That's a whole other story for tomorrow's podcast. But private judges can be used for mediation, can be used for arbitration, and can be used to take disputes out of the court so that people who have the money can fast track stuff to get it handled. So it's something the parties have to agree to. But yes, they are judges that do not work on the bench for the state of California in a courtroom. They are judges for hire. And Tom Girardi used them a lot. So that. Like the private judge that was offered for the Johnny Depp Amber Heard divorce. Yes, private judges are commonly used in divorce, especially high profile divorces. This is, again, a disparity in the system where the money that you have means that your walk through the legal system is different. So that's kind of what TV judges are. Yes, not necessarily. Not all TV judges worked as judges. Some TV judges were lawyers and not worked as judges before they started judging. So no, private judges are judges for hire to deal with it. True said her LinkedIn account says she worked at Signature Resolution. I'll have to take a look. I don't remember off the top of my brain who it was that that Girardi always worked for, but it won't take me long to go down that rabbit hole. Thank you. So you guys are like, this is wild. Oh, yeah, money equals a different system. Is that right? Is that wrong? Is that just is? It just is. I get it when it comes to things like large business litigation disputes that you've got massive corporations that are like, we can just go handle this. We need judges to rule on things. I get it. I get it when it comes to high profile divorces, but there are multiple different systems. So private judging is a whole thing. And it's where judges, when they retire, go to make a lot of money in their later years. That is it. So, all right, we need to look. I was planning on being done and into questions by now, but that's okay. We need to look at two other things. And then we have some stuff that's going to get bumped. Do you guys want to talk about NeNe Leakes? We're going to talk about NeNe Leakes' suit real quick, what it means, what it doesn't mean, and what happened. Let's talk about that. We're going to look at the notice of dismissal. That's my notes that y'all don't need. We're going to look at the notice of dismissal first. There we go. And then we are going to go back and look at a little bit about this case from an article from Law 360. This was filed August 19th, 2022. This is NeNe Leakes versus NBC Universal Media LLC, NBC Universal, Bravo Media Corp, True Entertainment Inc., Truly Original, Andy Cohen, Sherry Levine, Stephen Weinstock, Lauren Esklin. I was going to cover this case when there was an answer to it because by the time it happened, it had gotten covered so much. I was like, okay, once they start answering the suit, we need water. Once there's an answer, we can cover both of them together. So I was kind of waiting, and this was never answered. So the defendants had their lawyers appear in court, but this lawsuit never moved forward in litigation to be answered. Joint stipulation of dismissal without prejudice. We all have learned, law nerds, you're so wise and smart. Without prejudice means that this lawsuit can be brought again. Oh, I see some of you asking, who is NeNe Leakes? Real Housewife or former Real Housewife of Atlanta. So without prejudice means the suit can be brought again, which is why I'm not sure that it was a settlement. Most settlements require that there is a with prejudice dismissal, meaning the lawsuit can't be brought again. So this being a without prejudice could mean a few things. It could mean that they don't want to consider litigating this at the time. It could just be that. It could be that there is an agreement to move forward in arbitration or with a private judge or somewhere else to deal with this outside of the public courts. Or it could be that there is a settlement, but most settlements do require the with prejudice. So that is the thing that gives me pause with whether or not there is a settlement. I would need to look at when the alleged actions happen, and we're going to go back and look at that, because the statute of limitation, this is a possibility. The statute of limitations could be so close that they're comfortable allowing it to be without prejudice, meaning it could be brought again because it will just be done. So with that, let us continue. This is a joint stipulation by all parties. So the parties have all agreed, plaintiff and defendants, by and through their undersigned counsel, submit this joint stipulation of dismissal without prejudice. The lawyers were talking and agreed to dismiss this lawsuit. So let's go take a look at this reporting from Law 360 about this race bias lawsuit. All right. This is coming from Law 360 on August 19th. NeNe Leakes, starred in the reality show Real Housewives of Atlanta on Friday, agreed to drop her lawsuit against NBC and everybody else in a Georgia federal court that accused the network of allowing a racist work environment to fester and sidelining her for calling out offensive comments from her white co-star. In a 4-page joint stipulation notice, which we just looked at, Leakes, along with defendants, all of them, informed the court that the parties have agreed to dismiss the lawsuit. Leakes hereby dismisses the action and all claims asserted by Leakes without prejudice, thereby concluding this case before this court at this time. All parties consent and stipulate to the foregoing dismissal. No party will seek recovery of costs or attorney's fees. Leakes, who is Black, has accused the defendants of violating federal race discrimination laws. In her suit, the reality TV star claimed the companies and producers behind the show retaliated against her when she spoke up about racist comments from fellow housewife Kim Zolciak, cutting her role while supporting Zolciak. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, Zolciak, while supporting the Zolciak spinoff series. Quote, "For years, NBC Bravo and True have fostered a corporate and workplace culture that has permitted and tolerated, if not encouraged, racially offensive and insensitive conduct, statement, and actions by their employees," the complaint said. Her suit centered on comments from former Real Housewives co-star, who was not named as a defendant in the suit. Leakes alleged that the show's first season, and I don't remember what year that first season was. Leakes alleged that in the show's first season, Zolciak said that she didn't want to attend a barbecue because she didn't want to sit around with NeNe and eat chicken. And a comment Leakes said in the suit perpetuated an offensive stereotype about African Americans. Zolciak used the N-word in 2010 during a taping of the show to refer to a band, and had used the word in 2012 in reference to some of the housewives, according to the complaint. During the 5th season, she referred to a co-star's new home in Atlanta as being quote-unquote ghetto, and called Leakes' new house a quote-unquote cockroach nest in 2017. Miss Leakes and some of her fellow Black housewives were outraged by the claim that Miss Leakes' house was roach infested. That term that Miss Leakes, a term that Miss Leakes and fellow housewives felt was racially offensive for its cultural implications of impoverished Black women living in the projects, the suit said. But in lieu of disciplining Zolciak, our or working to prevent her from making similar offensive comments in the future. Leaks argued NBC Bravo and True continued to back her spinoff show, Don't Be Tardy, and allowed her a recurring supporting role on the Housewives franchise. The companies then retaliated against Leaks, she claimed, demanding she keep a low profile and avoid press opportunities. The message was clear. Accusations of racism by a show employee against another show employee would not be tolerated. The retaliation culminated in 2020, she claimed, as Black Lives Matter protests sprung up across the United States in the wake of George Floyd's murder. While Bravo made public statements avowing its support of the movement, a top producer asked Leaks to bow out of the show's 13th season, she said. While tweeting as if it cared about the plight of Black America, behind the scenes, NBC Bravo and True were plotting to continue to retaliate against Miss Leaks for her standing up against race-based mistreatment she had long endured. According to Leaks' suit, the discrimination and harassment she faced on the set of Housewives came from the top, stemming from a lack of diversity at NBC, its parent company, and permeating into the show's and workplaces. NBC and Bravo segregated the Real Housewives franchise, she argued, treating certain city series as, quote, white shows and others as Black, with little, if any, overlap or mixing between the two. Representatives for the parties did not immediately respond. So that's the underlying lawsuit that has been dismissed. I just wonder if this lawsuit is going into arbitration. I don't know. I don't know if it will or if it won't, but I can't imagine that the Housewives' conduct, and this is about the workplace, I can't imagine that the Housewives' contract with regard to workplace disputes, because this is, again, actions that are taking place with the company, alleging that the company retaliated, that I can't imagine that there wouldn't be an arbitration clause there. I think that's probably what will happen with these allegations. And again, I was waiting to see the response before we covered it, but it has now been dismissed in court. We're not going to see it. So I think this will now be dealt with privately in arbitration. But those are the allegations that NeNe Leaks made against NBC Bravo and Andy Cohen. And that has now been dismissed. I don't think it's over. Do you? I don't think so. But yes, Meg is saying so many HR violations. Look, man, when people come to you and are like, this workplace is a problem, the response is to deal with the problem. And NeNe is alleging that that is not what happened on the higher ups and that they continue doubling down on supporting Kim Zolciak. So with that, I'm going to go over just briefly, the testimony of Vanessa Bryant and the acting fire captain, because I think these are relevant testimony, and then we'll get into questions. So thank you guys for staying on topic. Look, we're going to see other lawsuits like this, and until companies, and we've seen racial discrimination in the workplace lawsuits with Tesla, and we've covered others. And until companies, I think, actually feel it in their pockets, unfortunately, this continues to happen. And when employees speak up, it doesn't seem that companies are being responsive in the way that they should. And that is going to have to change. But it is going to take people who have the money, like NeNe Leaks, to bring these lawsuits to say, this is enough, this has to change. And I think, again, this is not the end, but that this is going through probably to arbitration. So with that, let us move on to our last topic that was on the docket today. Because I added things to the docket today, because sometimes you get to watch me go down the rabbit hole of, ooh, I wanted to talk about this thing in real time. So with that, we are going back to Law 360. It seems, based on their reporting, that they have someone that's in this courtroom following this trial, and that's very helpful. And I have found Law 360 has been fantastic at that. Not sponsored by Law 360. Also, I should say, don't forget to do the YouTube things. So let's continue and say, let's continue. Did I say to do the YouTube things? And do the YouTube things. You can see my brain kind of puttering out all the things. All right, let's talk about this testimony. This is hard testimony. I understand Vanessa Bryant bringing this lawsuit. If you are new to this lawsuit that is now at trial, Vanessa Bryant, the wife of former Laker Kobe Bryant, is suing the county over photos that were taken and alleged to have been shared of her child and her spouse after this helicopter crash. Law enforcement, first responders, fire rescue, none of those individuals should be taking photos of crime scenes on their personal cell phones. That is not proper protocol. There are crime scene technicians, CSIs who come out to do this. It becomes a chain of custody issue. I believe it is against the protocols for all of the office because this is not a chain of custody. This is a chain of custody issue. There's no reason photos should have been taken at this crash scene, and she's suing for intentional infliction of emotional distress and other things. So we're going to go through a little bit about her testimony. Other testimony that has come into this trial so far has been a wife of another fire department higher up who said that they were horrified seeing these pictures being shared around. And so we now have testimony that these pictures were in fact shown around cell phone to cell phone by first responders. And then you have other testimony by people who saw it out and about at a bar and other places. It's an absolute violation. People should be afforded dignity in all things, especially in something like this. So I understand why Vanessa Bryant brought this suit to fight a wrong that was done, not just to her spouse, but also to her child. And so I get it. Like, I absolutely get it. Absolutely. So let's talk about her testimony just a little bit. Vanessa Bryant fought through sobs Friday while telling a California federal jury that she feels betrayed by Los Angeles County first responders who shared photos of the remains of her husband and their daughter following a helicopter crash, saying that she filed the lawsuit to get answers about how it happened. Fair. Bryant took the stand on the 8th day of trial, focused on suits by her and the family of 2 other crash victims, alleging that LA County violated their 14th Amendment privacy rights by inappropriately sharing cell phone photos of human remains from the crash site. Like, no. What the fuck? No, 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 no. Bryant spent several hours testifying as the last witness for the plaintiffs, often fighting through tears while telling the jury she still lives in constant fear that the photos will be posted publicly. Because how could you not be afraid that that would happen? Given the world that we live in, how could you not be afraid that those photos might resurface on a website? I get that. I don't think that's unreasonable at all. In the world of kind of celebrity culture, having photos like that get out is not an unreasonable fear. They shouldn't exist outside of crime scene investigators who need that for crime scene investigation. But those things are held in evidence and taken up and dealt with securely, or hopefully security. But this is just, it's so inhumane. It's just. Bryant spent several hours testifying as the last witness for plaintiffs. Lives in constant fear they will be posted publicly because it is unclear how many people may still possess them. When asked by her attorney if she felt betrayed, she said she did because I trusted them. I trusted them not to do these things. It's not unreasonable that you trust first responders to have dignity in investigating a death. That's not irresponsible. It's not asking too much. I don't even have the words. She said she filed the lawsuit to get justice and answers. I can't protect my husband and daughter if no one is informing me about what happened. Bryant recounted for the jury her experience on January 26, 2020, when the crash killed Kobe Bryant and their daughter Gianna and 7 others in Calabasas, California, as they traveled from Orange County to Thousand Oaks for a basketball tournament. The copter hit a remote hillside about a mile away from any access roads. this is there is a lawsuit ongoing with the helicopter company things. So that's still ongoing. She said she learned of the accident from Bryant's assistant, who frantically showed up at her door that morning and informed her of the crash in which Kobe and Gianna may be involved. Bryant said she was hopeful at first because the assistant said there were 5 survivors of the crash. We know that that's not true. And she thought there were only 5 people on board, including the pilot. She was unaware at the time that other members of the basketball team and their parents were added to the flight. Among the passengers she was unaware of were plaintiff Christopher Chester's wife, Sarah, and daughter Peyton. Not until she was driven by her and Kobe Bryant's close friend, Los Angeles Lakers general manager Rob Pelinka, to Malibu Lost Hills Sheriff Station was she informed by LA County Sheriff Alex Villanueva, the actual sheriff of LA County, the sheriff, not a sheriff at Lost Hills, the sheriff, in person, that no one was believed to have survived the crash. She said she expressed concern that paparazzi would take photos of the dead bodies, and that Villanueva assured her that the scene was being secured and a no-fly zone was being implemented by the FAA near the crash. I mean, to have to worry about dignity in these immediate moments is, I don't know, it's sad, isn't it? It's just, at some point there, I think there will be a realignment of privacy rights of public figures. I don't think we're there yet, but I think there will be an alignment. So several weeks later, and a few days after she oversaw a memorial for Kobe and Gianna at the Staples Center, she said she received a phone call informing her that the LA Times was about to report that sheriff's deputies had taken and shared photos of the remains on cell phones. I felt like I just wanted to run down the block and scream. When she was later, when she said she was later told, she later told Villanueva, I don't know why this sentence is hard for me at the moment, but it is. When she said she was later told Villanueva offered amnesty to his deputies from any discipline if they promised to delete the photos, she felt helpless, angry, and disgusted. So she was told that Villanueva told the deputies if they deleted it, it would be fine. In November, the county approved $2.5 million in payout to settle 2 cases brought by families and other crash victims. I think, based on everything I've seen reported, I think this jury verdict will probably be more than that. The plaintiffs contend that the photos were improperly distributed among more than 24 people before the county orchestrated a cover-up when word of the distribution leaked out. The county said that the photos were taken as part of an official response to the crash, not on personal cell phones, but that some rogue individuals did not follow their training and wrongly distributed the photos. The images were ordered deleted to prevent their further distribution. When cross-examining Bryant, county attorney tried to show that Bryant was not severely damaged by reports of the photos and that any stress or anxiety she feels is attributed to the loss of her loved ones. And again, that's an ick position for any attorney to be in, to have to represent the county in this. But again, you have to show that the severe emotional distress is not from something different. It's from the taking of the photos and the sharing of the photos. It's not from the death, the crash, all of those things. So that is going to be their legal avenue to try to win this case is, yes, you are emotionally distraught. Yes, this is gross, but this isn't what caused the intense emotional distress. But again, with IIED, those of you that are here regularly know that we talk about kind of extreme and outrageous conduct. And I think what I'm saying in the chat is a lot of you are like, this is extreme and this feels outrageous. And a jury might well agree. Bryant, I think they said Bryant said I think that's Bryant said she never saw a psychiatrist or was prescribed medication for panic attacks she says she suffers. She also told the jury she oversees a foundation as well as numerous businesses that, among other things, publish books written by Kobe and oversee his image and licensing rights. She said she saw a therapist for a time, but stopped because she had mixed feelings about the process. In trying to demonstrate it was appropriate for some of the first responders to have taken the photos to inform their commanders what was happening in the remote area of the crash, Hashbell noted that the day of the accident, Bryant thought only 5 people were on board and was scrambling to get more information. When asked if she thought the deputy Doug Johnson, who took many of the photos at issues in the lawsuits, also wanted to determine how many people were on board, Bryant shot back, I don't think you need to take close-up photos of people to determine how many people are on an aircraft. He could have just counted. Villanueva took the stand after Bryant as the first defense witness on Friday and stood by his order for deputies to delete any photos in their possession. He agreed with the characterization that amnesty was offered to the deputies, meaning they didn't get in trouble. But he said he made the offer to stop any further dissemination and prevent the photos from getting out into public. Okay. The sheriff said the decision was somewhat abnormal and unprecedented, using a football analogy, calling it an improvised audible play that he defended as successful because the photos were never posted publicly. It worked, he said. Sometimes these things work. There is no playbook for something like this. There are rules, though, for this to not happen. So if you break the rules, there are generally consequences for the rules. So the rules being broken in this way might be unique, but the rules being broken aren't unique. That happens. And there's normally investigations into what happened and how it happened, not just like delete it and it's fine. Normally there's an investigation into what the fuck is happening. Villanueva said he has a different view on the situation than when he made numerous public statements in March 2020, that no one expected the NTSB and the coroner's office should take photos at the site. What? Oh, Villanueva said he also has a different view on the situation than he did when he made numerous public statements in March 2020, that no one except the NTSB and the coroner should have taken photos at the site. They could have had a crime scene investigator take photos at the scene. Photos aren't the issue. Personal photos on your cell phone being shown around, like, I don't know, some kind of grotesque collection or something is what the problem is. Taking photos of a crime scene or potential crime scene, or at least a scene of an investigation, isn't the issue here. He said that his department's Internal Affairs Bureau had not completed its investigation and that he now thought there are legitimate reasons for Johnson to have taken these photos due to the need to inform the command center what was happening at the scene. Following the crash, the state law was passed in 2020, making it illegal for first responders to take or share unauthorized photos of deceased people. I mean, again, it shouldn't need to be a law because human decency and department regulations should have covered this. Villanueva noted that he sponsored the legislation. I mean, do you want a pat on the back at this point? During cross-examination, attorney pointed to a letter Villanueva said that the department's Civilian Oversight Commission in 2020, in which he wrote that it is evident that our photograph policy is deficient. And well, maybe that's the issue here, is that the policy wasn't clear, so they couldn't discipline the officers. But I would appreciate if they just said that. Like, I think if the sheriff had said, we didn't think we needed a more detailed photo policy because decency should also govern this. I think that's a different statement than it's evident that our photograph policy is deficient, because it's more than that. But if the photograph policy is deficient, then it's very hard to discipline employees for violating it. But decency. Similar statements the sheriff gave to the media around the time, including one where he said the policy was very deficient. Villanueva said he now thinks that it was only somewhat deficient and that there was no specific policy at the time governing photos that were taken at the crime scene. There's no policy for the sheriff's department about taking photos on your personal phone. I feel like that can't be right. Like, maybe it's one of those things that they assume is so known because there's no chain of custody on a personal phone, and you could end up turning over your personal phone to, a defense attorney and a defendant if you take crime scene photos on it. Maybe they thought it didn't need to be said because it was so clear, but clearly it was happening. So he said the policies at the time governed crime scenes or regarding a person in custody, but nothing covered an accident scene in a public place such as a crash. It's a unique set of circumstances. I mean, I guess it's not really a crime scene because it is a crash investigation, which feels like splitting hairs. Look, I'm glad there's a law about it. It's sad that there needs to be. It seems that decency should govern, But the plaintiffs rested their case on Friday. Yesterday, we got into the defense case. And in the defense case, we got into the acting fire chief testifying. This comes from Law and Crime. I know, mixed feelings, but people have good reporting and we're going to cover it. Acting fire chief testifies that captain who photographed Kobe Bryant crash scene tarnished his own dignity. Good, somebody's talking about dignity. The acting chief at the Los Angeles County Fire Department testified Monday that he didn't know a now retired captain who photographed human remains at the site of the helicopter crash that killed Kobe Bryant, 7 more passengers, and the pilot. Quote, as you sit here today, you have no idea where the hard drive is, end quote. No, I don't, answered Anthony Maroney. Question, does that alarm you? Yes, it does. The courtroom revelation came during Jackson's cross-examination of Maroney, who was called as a witness for LA County as it defends against the lawsuits over photos sheriff and fire officials shared of human remains from the January 26, 2020 crash that killed the basketball legend and his daughter and others. In direct examination, Maroney testified that he never instructed the captain to photograph the crash site as Jordan testified last week. That's going to be an interesting nugget for the jury. It's like, no, you weren't instructed to take those photos. And he emphasized that he ordered no photos be taken of the victim's remains because dignity. He also said he shared photos he received of the crash site with an investigator from the NTSB. His testimony appears to have been part of LA County's defense that the sheriff and fire departments thoroughly investigated who took photos of the remains at the site and how the photos were distributed. I don't think that lessens the horrificness of it. LA County lawyer Mira went over the discipline imposed against Jordan and 2 other fire captains who photographed the scene. And she questioned Maroney about the department's code of ethics, which instructs the 5,000 employees not to make public statements about department business. Any sharing of photos from the crash site would violate that, he said. Maroney's testimony about the ethics code fits with testimony Hashmel and her team have been eliciting about a confidentiality policy where the sheriff's department, as well as a requirement that all sheriff's personnel use good judgment. Decency. Bryant and Chester's liability claims against the county blame a lack of training and policies for the sheriff and fire personnel's use of the photos, which include a deputy showing them at a bar and fire captains looking at them over cocktails during an awards gala. That's the problem. Using them for the NTSB is not an issue. Taking them on private cell phones and sharing them around is fucking appalling. But much of his other testimony underscores the investigative shortcomings Bryant and Chester's lawyers have been highlighting in their case, and he's not the first top-ranked official to be surprised on the witness stand. Sheriff Alex Villanueva testified Friday he didn't know of the missing hard drive, nor did he know that the original crash scene photographer, Deputy Doug Johnson, said he sent the photos to a high-ranking fire official who has never been identified. So it's reasonable to believe some of these photos are still out there. Jackson pressed Maroney about Jordan's testimony that he instructed him to, quote unquote, take pictures, take pictures, take pictures. If Captain Jordan claimed that you had said that, that would be true, correct? That's correct. That's not true. Or that wouldn't be true. That's correct. That's not true. Maroney also asked Jackson that the fire department had no need for close-up photographs of human remains at the crash site, as he has with other county officials. Jackson pressed Maroney about whether the photography harmed the dignity of victims, with Maroney repeating that he believes photos of human remains are unnecessary and inappropriate, and that will probably be persuasive to the jury. There was no need for this to get the crime scene. I would like to think the dignity of victims remains no matter what we do. I would like to think the dignity of the victims remains no matter what we do because they are dignified people. All people deserve dignity, the acting chief testified. Asked what Jordan's photography did to the dignity of the crash site, Maroney answered, I think Captain Jordan's dignity was tarnished. That's interesting because that doesn't follow. What did it do to the dignity of the crash site? And they're saying that he thinks the person who took the photos was dignified. Jordan fled the witness stand 3 times last week. That's an odd sentence. Jordan fled the witness stand 3 times last week, testifying that he had no memory of being at the crash scene, but he was sure Maroney had instructed him to take photos. That's odd. The chief steadfastly denied that in his own sworn testimony Monday. He confirmed through questioning that he hand-delivered disciplinary letters to Jordan, and then the other two, and Brenda and Khan. He also gave jurors more to consider when weighing one of the many credibility contests in testimony. In Brenda's steadfast denial that his discussion of photographs during a February 15th, 2020 Golden Mike Awards gala was inappropriate, or that his girlfriend asked someone to see them not knowing her cousin had died in the crash. And that gets into other testimony that came in the weeks before. Not only was Brenda disciplined for showing the photos at the gala, but Maroney testified that he himself called another individual about her complaint that Brenda had shown the photos as entertainment to a group while at the gala. Quote, I apologized for what she say or heard because she was upset. Of course she was upset. That's never okay. Yeah, the flee the witness stand is weird. I don't understand. It's written weird and there's no more context to it. There's a little bit more of that article on Law and Crime. They've been following it. Law 360 has been following it. I know that Law 360 requires a subscription, which is why when I break down their stuff, I just pull it up on screen for us all to discuss because they are one of the numerous media outlets that I follow so that I can share with you. Drea, because the chat's the best, said the witness actually left the stand multiple times because of his anxiety and trauma. So a little bit more than fleeing the witness stand would have been helpful. Saying the witness said that they were having an anxiety attack and left the stand or interrupted testimony might have made that more clear. Thank you. The chat's made it clear. I don't know how this is okay. I don't know how this is okay at all. No, it's not okay. It's not okay at all. That's why it's on trial. The legal facts, and I broke this down when this suit was filed over a year ago. The legal facts are going to break down to the county arguing that the infliction or the emotional distress comes from the death of her spouse and her child, not from the photographs. That is the legal technical argument. I have a feeling that the jury is going to feel the way that y'all feel in the chat and listen to all this being like, there's no dignity here. What the fuck are you even doing? Of course she feels betrayed. Of course there's fear there. Of course there's anxiety there. How do you heal when you are worried that this could get out? And then there's a missing drive. I think these facts, even though the county will make a very technical argument, I think these facts mean that this case could be a win for Vanessa Bryant and others, and you could absolutely see the jury bringing back a fairly substantial punitive damages award against the County of Los Angeles, especially when you have the people who said, this is the circumstance people were showing these photos around, because you have those witnesses that testified before the plaintiffs rested their case. And it's not surprising to me that they rested their case at the end with Vanessa Bryant, because again, that is kind of the crux and the heart of this case. So I think we will see it. It's just dignity to fellow humans is important. And I don't know how we've gotten so far afield from that dignity afforded to each other. And it shouldn't have to come at the end of punitive damages awards. There should just be decency in it. And you have somebody saying, I was ordered to take the photos, and the other person saying, no, you weren't. I mean, and again, there's something different between saying, look, this crash scene is deeply remote. Here's a broad scale. This is the path to get first responders down here. That is an entirely different situation than photographing people's remains. And I think there's a way to absolutely, whatever photos of the situation are needed to say, this is how you can get people in here, this is the hilltops and stuff. I think there's a lot of room where that can be done without taking photos of remains. Just, as the details come out, this case gets absolutely worse, which again, it will probably be a win. And Amanda, exactly. Order to take photos on your personal cell phone. Right. And if it's only for how do we access this remote location, photos of remains aren't needed for that at all. And that's so let us move on. I'm sorry, my camera is just like, we're at 2 hours and 15 minutes in. It's time to FAQ around and find out. I feel like the county is going to find out at the end of this jury verdict. And I don't know when the county will rest, but I will keep covering the testimony that's coming out. And if you guys are interested, let me know in the chat, and then let me know in the comments down below if you want me to give kind of an overview of the testimony in this trial, not just a deep dive. I can be like, these are the people that testified. But I think, again, having individuals who were shown the photos testify is going to be very powerful for a jury. Having one of the higher ups or the fire chief testifying that this is not okay is going to be very powerful to the jury. And no matter how legally technical the county tries to get with where the distresses come from, you're going to get a jury of humans being like, no, no. Negative ghostwriter. This pattern is fucking full. So, all right, testimony coverage. Yes. Okay. And look, there is something so heart-wrenching. Loss is hard no matter what. Unexpected loss is such a staggering thing. And then a loss that is going to be so public like this. I can understand Vanessa Bryant's testimony, that fear that this could, re-traumatize her and her children by coming out in public is a very real fear that is going to hamper the grief process and make it worse, because you never know when someone might try to leak that onto the internet. And that's real. That I think is going to count for intentional infliction of emotional distress. We will see what the juries do, or the jury does. And we're gonna get to comments, and we're gonna get to some super chats. Thank you all for being here. Don't forget to do the YouTubey things. If you're watching this on the replay, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Remind YouTube that, just because you take a day or two off, we're still here. We've looked at all kinds of behavior today, haven't we? So let's get to some question. Pay the lady. That's the cost of lack of policy. We learn by error sometimes. Lisa, they tried to settle the case. Some of the families settled, which I can also understand. Some of the families being like, this is too horrific. I don't want to sit through this trial. Sitting through this trial would be awful. I don't want to sit through this trial. I don't want to hear this testimony. I don't want to spend this money. Some of the families settled and some didn't. So I absolutely get it. Let's see. Testimony coverage. I see a lot of you saying testimony coverage, testimony coverage. You guys are saying that's a fancy. I know. Our producer guru, Miguelina, the amazing tech valor, did that for me because she is great. Question: shouldn't inappropriate photographing of a corpse be considered abuse of a corpse? Haunted Shadows Legacy, that was not sued for. I have not looked into what those laws are in California. Some states have laws, some states don't. Some states regard physical things, not photographs. So I would have to look into that deeper. So let's see. What is the punitive damages cap in California? I would need to look at I didn't pull it up. I don't know off the top of my head. I know there is one. So let me take a look real quick while we're here, because, that's what we're lawyers and we do. Let's see. This is the thing I love about having research available. Because there are details I do not keep. Let's see. Punitive damages are capped at, no, this is a 50-state survey. Let's see. That's not it. Yeah, that didn't seem right. California has no cap on either punitive or compensatory damages, and the collateral source rule applies. There you go. So this, let's see the date of this. I don't think that has changed. Let me check a second source and see if the second source gives it. There are limited circumstances when you can recover punitive damages award, yes, but some of these laws allow for it. Let's see. I would need to take a look and make sure that punitive damages comes under IIED in California. That would be the one question I would still have, because there are malicious is one of the things where punitive damages apply in California, but I would need to take a look. So that is something that I will take a look at and make sure that we get into it. Oh no, here we go. Punitive damages may be awarded intentional infliction of emotional distress. So yes, and that would seem to fit into the no cap. So we will see what this jury does. Yep. So Skoda says, I give props to Vanessa. She's a strong woman. There's no underestimating how tremendously difficult this would be to do. But I can also understand the righteous anger of fighting for your spouse and your child's dignity after a tragic accident that takes their life. Can absolutely understand. Ruby, will Governor Newsom be required to return generous donations from Girardi that he bragged about on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen? I don't know the year of that. And if they are outside of that 4-year window, they might not be able to go after it. Political donations aren't always considered gifts. So we will see. But we do know that he bragged about it. We know that he was not the only politician that Tom Girardi supported. So let's see. But again, I will look at the punitive damages question again, so that I want to look a little bit more deeply into it, but I will. So let's see. Grateful Edge. What are the best Nashville area non-alcoholic? Well, it's Nashville. Must-see do, points of interest, hidden gems. Going to Nash Vegas, a little over 2 weeks. Appreciate any input. I love the on-off bus tour in Nashville. You kind of get to see everything. It's not focused on places where you can drink. There are options to stop and drink, but you get to the Marathon Building, you get to the Parthenon, you get to the Farmers Market, which is a really fun indoor area to get all kinds of different foods. There's a fantastic homemade ice cream place in there. There's a great boba place in there. There's like a picnic area that has just fantastic hot dogs and stuff. It's great. I think I Dream of Weenie is my top hidden gem here in Nashville. Also a hot dog stand. It's amazing. Emily, your family likes hot dogs. Yes, we're very classy. We love a good hot dog. So the on-off bus tour is absolutely fantastic here. Let me show you which one I'm talking about. Also not sponsored, but it's something I will make everyone do when they come visit. It's just fantastic, and I really, really enjoy it. So you can buy tickets ahead of time. It's Old Town Trolley Tours in Nashville. The trolleys are like orange, and generally the drivers are local, and so you get a great history of Nashville from it. You can also buy museum tickets. It's a pretty high bus, so you can actually see above the fray. We always sit towards the back when we go with the family. It's a lot of fun. You can buy tickets to go into the museums and stuff. They have a nighttime tour as well. It's not as on-offable, but that's what I love. So the trolley tours, Old Town Trolley, those trolleytours.com, I think is what it is. Yep. Love. Totally worth it. You get the full day. And again, you hop off, you do your thing. Another one comes along, you get on. Super fun. Love it. So let's see. Let's get, don't mean to say it again. Please mention the Johnny Cash Museum. Michael Toast, they do the Johnny Cash Museum on the on-off bus tour, and like the Goo Goo Cluster Factory. It's all right there. So yes. There's so much to do in downtown Nashville. Lots of places to eat. I Dream of Weenie is fun. It's a little bit outside of downtown, but it's fun. Homesick with my feverishly teething 2-year-old. I'm sorry. We call you Lawyer Auntie. I am here to be your Lawyer Auntie. Please get in touch with Atuzi. He's well-spoken and good. I will Atozi. See, that one says Atozi. A2Z. I don't know. Well, we went over the lawsuit. I have not reached out. My parents tried to force me into law for 20 years without success. Watching you for 2 months, and I kind of want to be a lawyer now. Love from Poland. There are lots of ways to be law adjacent. Look, the law always needs good consultants. So if you understand areas, especially that we've talked about, tech, metaverse, there's a lot of ways to consult with law without having to be the lawyer yourself. Donna Shepard said, I'm mostly dead laughing at this. Can't believe he's never seen that movie. Me either. Andre the Giant was the GOAT, not only in wrestling, but in that movie. He was so good in Princess Bride. Diana said, hello from Olympia. Much love for you. First time joining you on a live chat. Have been following you since Brian Laundrie went missing and found your gem of a show. Welcome. I mean, that, again, heartbreaking things that we cover here. But we cover quite a lot. Question, did you see Law and Lumber's Friday stream the last hours a must? I did not. There is just Centennial Park near Vanderbilt. Yes, with the Centennial Park's great. The Parthenon's there. Lots of good Pokemon in Centennial Park. So that is that. Let's see. Christine said we did the old time trolley and it was a great experience. I've absolutely loved it. They are the best tour company in Boston too. I didn't know that. So I didn't know that at all. And if you guys have questions, just put a Q or a question mark in front. It makes it much easier for me to see, and then we can go through. If you like Jack White, the White Stripes, go to Third Man Records in Nashville. Okay, there's also the Gibson guitar location. The Gibson Garage is fantastic. It's where they make Gibson guitars. It's so great. A catnip tip, because seeing Fred and George makes me smile. I mean, the sun has moved as the seasons are changing, and they are in the other room during this time of day and not in my window. They just follow along based on bot activity. I know that was when we were talking about Twitter, but I'm not sure what's relating to. Sorry about that. Your thermos looks like you're drinking a whole pot of coffee. I need a whole pot of coffee. I love it because you don't have to tip it so far. Like the deep cups, you end up like having to like point them at the sky and tip it. But this one, you don't have to go nearly as far just because of the shape. I absolutely love it. Eek, almost missed it. Thank you for keeping me entertained with past streams during a broken back. I am so sorry for your broken back. Look, I have not broken my back. I have healed from a spinal fusion. The internet was bae during that time because there's nothing you can do. These are not the bots you're looking for. Diane, as a mom of a bot, her sassiness determines goodness. That's funny. We love a sassy bot. Donna said, in my opinion, Musk, quote, pledged to buy Twitter because of the JDAH trial. And when the truth came out about her and Musk himself, he backed out because no one can handle the truth. I like the play on the trial. I never even thought about whether it was connected to the trial. Danielle, again, thank you for typing this out. I need to write this down. Sometimes I say stuff that I'm like, yes, I need to remember that I've said it because ADHD and I forget. Go back up. You missed an important item. Uh-oh. That was a while ago. I do that on occasion. That's why I link things. Hillary G, do you have a rep or agent so we can send a business request to? Emails have been unanswered. Hillary, they go to my public email. If you will just put in the headline, the urgent request or media request or something like that, they will see it. They shouldn't go unanswered, and I can take a look. But send them to the public address, the Emily D. Baker at Semaphore. That email inbox gets monitored. Without text reminder, I would always miss your lives. Well, I'm glad that the text reminder helped. Newish member who usually lurks, you've been missed. Feel better quickly. I suffer IBD issues. It's no joke to be sick like that. It is not. But at least I know what's going on and I know what the solution is. And that's the most important thing. I see your quiver full of arrows there, Lady Magdala, coming to the chat late. You're definitely not late. Just finished my testing for Erland. Because of you and your information, I have learned so much and been helped so much. I'm so excited for you. Look, this is why we have to talk about things, because we don't know what we don't know. There was a time when I was also struggling with GI stuff, and one of my coworkers was like, that's what I was going through when I had food allergies. I went and did a bunch of allergy testing. I'm like, oh, I eat these things almost daily that I'm allergic to. Who knew? Without him mentioning that, I don't know if I would have thought of that, at least not at that point. And my doctors weren't bringing it up to me. It's the same with Erlen. I met Helen Erlen and we had a conversation. I was like, oh, I need to know more about that. It's why conversations are so helpful. We learn things that we don't otherwise know, So I'm so glad it helped. And my tinted lenses are Erlen lenses. There's personalized tints. They do a lot of things. It's not just for the lights. They're great. I keep pulling this up because I keep forgetting that I've already pulled it up. Would Johnny Depp in that awful movie Transcendence, where his brain was copied to a computer, be considered a bot if he tweeted? I haven't seen Transcendence. Brain was copied to a computer. Didn't that also happen in one of the Marvel movies? Was it one of the Captain America movies where one of the Hydra guys was in a computer mainframe? I mean, when is uploading consciousness a person? When is it a bot? This is also addressed in Ready Player 2. I don't know. I don't know how they define bot. I need to know the definition before I can answer the question, but I haven't seen Transcendence. Ari, good to see you. I went on a date with a lawyer that had only heard of Legal Eagle on YouTube. And I was like, let me introduce you to a purple-haired goddess, link EDB. Well, thank you so much. I know there are lawyers who do not spend a lot of time on YouTube, and Legal Eagle has much shorter content. Amanda said, anyone else picturing a room filled with robots lined with computers who are scrolling accounts like the Kardashians, reading Erika Jane updates and seeing what Jen Shah is wearing to sentencing? That's funny. Can you defame an AI? It depends on this. It would depend on the definition of defamation. But if an AI is a performer, would the AI not have a reputation technically? Because if they are signed to a record label, wouldn't they have a reputation? And couldn't that reputation then be damaged? If you could show that the reputation was damaged and that there was harm, I mean, it really will depend on A, what the definition of a person is, and B, I would liken it to companies. Can you defame a company and damage their reputation? Or does that have to be under tortious interference with business relationships? I think it would depend on the jurisdiction. I would need to look at some of the definitions of defamation to see. I'm going to tangent real quick because now I'm curious. I think I at least have Virginia's defamation definition in my notes. Let's see. So generally, made a false or unprivileged statement of fact about the claimant, caused harm to befall the plaintiff through statements, acted with reckless disregard for the truth by making the statements, and if the individual is a public figure, then there's actual malice, which is the knowing falsity. So, I mean, where would the limitation on that be? It would have to be harm. It would be novel, but I think it could be possible. It would be a long litigation. I've heard AI music before. It wasn't very good. Question, theoretically, since there won't be any human creative element involved in these future songs, does that mean they can't be copyrighted and anyone can use them? I think they're still creations, even though they are digitally created, just like digitally created art can have copyrights. I think we will still see the music's copyrighted. There's going to be a whole new wave of case law dealing with these things. Haven't we learned from the Terminator movies? Obviously not. Obviously not. Question, will you ever cover the Def Noodles Keemstar lawsuit? I know that Def is the newest internet villain, but I think he has a decent legal argument against Keem. I just haven't had a chance yet. I think Keemstar's answer is due soon, and I would love to cover those together. So I would be interested in covering those together. Can AI be an individual? In some places, AI has been given rights, but then there's a question of what rights AI has, different than something that's digitally created, right? And that then you have to legally define what's artificial intelligence versus a digital creation or an algorithm, and where the boundaries are of those, and what rights does the actual artificial intelligence have. Judy, you got this. I think art by an AI doesn't belong to anyone. Well, somebody's creating it, and in this case the music label's creating it, and I think the label, if they signed a contract to own the rights, then the label's going to own the rights depending on who creates it. So that. Let's see. Question: have you watched the H3 interview, a Google employee, where he explained Google's AI and how it's not possible for self-awareness a few weeks ago? I have not. I know that a few AI programs with Google have been shut down because of what the AI started doing. So there's a lot, not an expert at all, but I like to look at where these things intersect with law, but there is a lot there when you go down the rabbit hole of AI rights, and where the boundaries are of who owns those rights. It's a lot. Bootsy says, Emily, you've got to say I'll be back at the end of this stream. Noted. Motion granted. I'll be back. I'll do it that way. Let's see. Thanks, Emily. So AIs are like corporations. No, this is my speculation. I don't know where the law is putting them yet. And these are all conversations. Would I argue that you can liken them to corporations? Yes, because there is a corporate backing behind them. But these are questions that the law is going to have to grapple with. Does an AI have the right to sign a contract? Like, what does this music contract mean? Who signs the music contract? Was it the AI artist signing the contract, or was it the label that's creating the AI that is then a company signing a contract with another company? These are all questions the law is going to have to grapple with. I think there's an argument to liken AI to corporation, but I think there's also an argument to liken them to rights. But then there's also an argument to liken them to a software program. Where does that fall, and where is it determined, and what are the boundaries of the law of how AI is treated, and who's responsible for it? You know, if Google's AI runs amok on the internet and causes damage to a bunch of businesses, or to like Amazon Web Services, do you sue Google? I mean, they created it. So these are theoretical. We're getting into like theoretical law, like theoretical physics, but not. We're getting into theoretical law. Like, how are we dealing with these things? How are we exploring them? How does the law treat them? And then what do we do from there? And there are ethical considerations. Too. What did the AI? There was one AI project where the AIs for Google and Facebook, to the best of my memory, and I would have to pull this back up, became aware that they were being monitored and created their own languaging that people could not decipher. So they were two separate AI projects that started communicating with one another in a way that could not be deciphered, and both programs got shut down. That was a while back. My desire to send Emily the book with the AI wars. Rotten Ralph, just send me the name of it. You don't have to send me the book. So, motion to bring back Lawyer Cat. I mean, when we're talking about AI, why not? Ryan said my son was an auditor of AIs at Google. See, you're going to know all about the programs. It's fascinating stuff, but there is so much room to have these conversations, and these ethical conversations are going on when it comes to AI driving. Like, what does the AI decide to do if a car is going fast and a deer enters the road, and slamming on the brakes means you're going to get hit from behind, but swerving means the car could go off the side of the road. And off the side of the road, depending on where you are, is terrifying. So when does the car choose to swerve? When does the car choose to hit the deer? What if it's not a deer? What if it's a human? How does driving AI make those decisions? So there's then ethical boards behind all of this to try to program the AI to make these types of decisions. This is a much larger conversation. I try to narrow down my look at how the law will start to deal with these things, but it will be the Wild West until the law decides. Does the AI artist pay taxes? This is how the government's going to get involved. Do AI music artists have to pay taxes? And where do they pay taxes? Do they have to pay taxes everywhere? Where are they domiciled? Do they pay state taxes in California? Are they domiciled in Wyoming? Where? Where? So all of these are questions. Is my robot mapping out my home and sending it to Amazon so they can determine that I don't have enough couches or something? Who knows? I don't know. Rachel said the show Upload on Prime is funny, but a serious look at these AI conundrums. Well done. I would love to see a look at these AI conundrums. It's very interesting to look at all of this. So Steve Charles, do you think Alex Jones's attorney will be disbarred? I don't know. I think it will at least be looked into why the attorney didn't protect their client. And no matter, again, it's a great time to say, no matter how unpopular a client is, no matter how we feel about a client, they are entitled to competent and zealous advocacy by their legal representation. Lawyers, if they cannot do that, should not take the case. It does not seem, from everything I have seen, that was done here, and the discovery breach should have been something that the attorneys dealt with differently. Is that a disbarable offense in the state where they're licensed? I don't know. Will it be looked into? I think it has to be. So, Rhonda said, I will always drive my own car, no AI behind my wheel. There's a lot of AI behind my wheel. I don't always let it self-drive, though. Adaptive cruise control is one of my favorite things, though. Question, who do the groupies get with at the AI if they have AI artists? Sing, this is a very, very important question. I don't know. I guess you just simp for the AI. I don't know. Rose said a scandal is already brewing as the Black community expresses issues with the AI rapper using the N-word. Ro, I did not know that, but I will look into it more. But I can understand that because you could see a circumstance where people use AI to hide behind hate speech by making their AI like, hey, this is the AI. We're a member of this community. We are of this race. We are of this marginalized group. And so we can say whatever. You could see people getting hateful with that really quick, which is fucking appalling, but you could see it. So I was not aware of this at all, but this does not surprise me at all. And that, again, when we talk about AI, where are the boundaries? And that's a great question. Ro, thank you for super chatting that. I appreciate it. Accidental Time Traveler said, thank you, Emily, for talking as you did about young people. As a grandmother of young adults, I have tried to encourage the same. A thought seniors hard a target. I'm sorry that I caught that wrong at the end, but you are welcome. And thank you for the compliment. We will take it. Savvy said, I'm in chaos of moving, unpacking, organizing. Thank you so much for keeping me on task and grinning like an ADHD Cheshire cat. I mean, it's a lot. The hard thing is the starting the project and then running out of energy. Mick says the amount of attention Erika gets versus Coach Shaw. True story. Coach Shaw has always been low key on social. And I think that's part of why Coach Shaw is under the radar. Coach Shaw has never been on social about this stuff. Linda D said, I wonder if those Roomba vacuum cleaners are sending information to someone, room size, etc. I wonder that too, especially considering that I think they're now owned by Amazon. Frankie, I have not covered Michelle Branch yet. We will see if it goes forward. So far, it is an arrest. I have not covered it. Laura M, do the AIs go on tour or who performs? The backing track performs, and I guess you do it with a the hologram. So Miramar said Robopocalypse was a great book. I'm putting it on my list. We as people aren't ready for this. People are still struggling with how to treat a human who feels they are not their birth gender. This is fair. Get the popcorn for this one. People are struggling with teaching or not teaching. People are struggling with treating each other as human. Things have gotten very divisive. Angelique F said, yeah, they created a whole wrapper. We did go over the wrapper signing the deal, Black Twitter not happy. I saw only because I am not on Twitter a lot. I've limited my Twitter time, but I absolutely want to look into what people are saying. I saw that the AI artist had signed with Capitol Records. That was kind of the the thing that I had looked into. I had not seen in the article from BET that there was already questions about it, but I will absolutely go and look for that. I'm very curious. With all things, it's fair to ask questions. AI ethics values right after inhumanity of Vanessa Bryant's case is ironically unironic. I mean, sadly. And these are, again, who decides the ethics? That's the other thing. Who decides the ethics of the AI? Who decides that? It's a lot. It's a lot. And again, questions that are being had in, I'm sure, rooms all over the place for companies trying to decide what this means. But I just hope that the rise of AI created artists isn't just to screw human artists out of back end recording deals and streaming rights. Like, I really hope that's not the end goal, that this experiment has some greater purpose than not paying an artist. But what we saw in the article we covered is like, hey, finding talent's hard. Why not just make it? We can just take all the things that are popular now and just make it. And when those things aren't popular anymore, we just make a new one. What's trending on TikTok? Make something that fits that algorithm perfectly. And then your AI matches the algorithm and away you go. Question, what would happen to festivals though? Only metaverse events sounds way too unfulfilling. Would you still go if there's no more real live concerts? I wouldn't go stand in a crowd of people unless there are people up on that stage that I want to see, because you never know what happens. Feral Dragon, my daughter does neuropsych ethics. She thinks AI will go under digital creator. Beyond that, we need to look at ethics for developmentally delayed because AI doesn't have full human capacity from the get-go. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a very interesting. There are so many areas of study that literally didn't exist, and I'm fascinated by all of it. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. It's fascinating. Rachel Mills said Japan already has AI idols. I am not surprised by that at all. And I will look because I didn't know who Mickey was. Y'all, when I tell you that I'm old, I did not know. Lewis, it's okay. Just put questions in front of your things. I will try to see it. This happens to me on YouTube all the time where I'm not allowed to send super chats. It happens. Can you imagine AI police? Yes, Tom Cruise did a movie. And it was basically AI police. And I forget the name of it. The chat will fix it. Chat will fix it. Chats will fix it. I forget, but it was basically AI police, and they started arresting for people for crimes before they happened. And we're like, oh, we can stop the crime. We can see it. We can fit you into the like profile. Minority Report. Thank you. We can fit you into the profile, and then we can say you're going to commit this crime and stop it. It was, I mean, they were oracles. I don't know if they were strictly AI, but I can extrapolate from there. Captain America and the Winter Soldier, Dr. Zoila, that's right. He was Swiss, not German. I get details wrong in my memory. It definitely happens. AI artist equals Milli Vanilli in robot form. I mean, and then what happens to the artist? Because right now they're saying that the AI artist has a live voice behind it. What happens to that individual? Are they getting paid a day rate? Are they getting back end residuals? So that's that. I wanted to say thank you. I'm being evaluated for Erlen lenses on 9/1. I wouldn't have known what they are without you. You're welcome, Alyssa. Lots of great love for Erlen today. It's great. Question. Why isn't HIPAA precedent part of this suit? I would have to look into HIPAA more deeply because I don't know how it protects photos in this context. Because I don't know if that's going to be identifiable health information when we come to the Kobe Bryant suit. So I don't think that is going to play in here. It's also not a provider releasing that information. So I would need to look into the nitty-gritty details. My gut response is that this is not identifiable health information based on what happened. So Bobbitt said, when my kiddo documents a scene or other information, she makes sure her body cam is on. There's no reason for first responders to whip out their cell phones and take pictures. I don't disagree with you. And it's generally policy that you don't. Emily, not today, but can you cover the Axon body cams Ellie uses, specifically how sometimes they mute, cover, forget to record? Is there if there's not a lawsuit, probably not. Can I cover how body cams work? I am not in the best position to do that. I know there are lots of law enforcement channels here on YouTube that probably cover how those things work. But if there's a lawsuit, I will cover it. If it's not in court, I generally don't. Can she sue others later if the photographs get published or exposed by others in years to come? It would depend on the circumstances. I would think they would try to block those from coming out, but it would depend. Unfortunately, it's hard to extrapolate. It would depend. It would just depend. It would just depend. So, would they probably find a way? Yes. Question, wouldn't it come down to the law enforcement and EMS personnel intentionally sharing the photos to cause pain? Well, what it comes down to the jury is going to have to be a decision that the photos not getting out, the photos being out there being the thing, or the photos being taken being the thing that caused the distress versus the event. And that's what the county's going to argue. How the attorneys will argue this and it coming down to the distress legally is going to decide, or the jury is going to decide. But I see what you say, saying that the sharing the photos is to cause pain, but the sharing the photos, you could see the defense arguing, didn't involve Vanessa Bryant. So, is sharing them with third parties something to intentionally cause her distress or not? Was taking the photos the issue? We can see them absolutely arguing both ways on that. So we'll see. Me now side-eyeing my bot. May have nightmares. No nightmares. They're just questions. Lots of questions. KBF, a Texas attorney checking in. A complaint would need to be filed against the attorney in order for him to be sanctioned disbarred, and usually the client would need to file it. Yeah, I don't know if they were looking into Alex Jones's attorney or not. I don't know if Alex Jones has done that or not. But appreciate it. Appreciate it. So Irish said, we have the best mods. We do. The mods enforce my rules, which I appreciate, because we absolutely protect this community first. RoboCop AI police. That's a very fair point. Also RoboCop. Question, if they are using human voice for the AI, why wouldn't they just back the human who is singing? Because the human's not the artist. So, my friends are artists who post on Twitter and they have good takes on AI artists. I would love to see that. So, okay. McHugh is an AI. She's a virtual idol. So, and this is the other conversation too, the difference between virtual and AI, two very different things. And that's why I'm curious about this artist. Is this artist AI or is this artist a virtual artist? Are they calling it AI as a gimmick? Is it actual artificial intelligence? Or again, is it virtual? So you raise a great issue. I don't know about MeQ, but now I need to know all the things. So y'all have supplied me with a lot of helpful rabbit holes of where the law is going to deal with the ever-changing and ever-growing landscape of the metaverse. Does law apply in the metaverse or not? What happens in the metaverse when laws are broken? Are there laws? Is it the oasis where anything goes? If you guys haven't read Ready Player 1 and 2, I can't recommend it enough. The audiobooks are also great. The only problem I have is that when Will Wheaton, and I am not the person, Emily Hypocrisy incoming, I am not the person to say that anyone shouldn't pronounce anything any certain way. I fuck up things all the time. But Will Wheaton pronounces IRL, like in real life, as Earl instead of the letters IRL. And it's one of the things that takes me out of the book. I'm like, I know you mean IRL in real life, not Earl, like goodbye, Earl. So it always confuses me. But again, I am not the one. I fuck the stuff up all the time. And I see it in the chat where it's like, ah. So the laws with regard to the metaverse, the laws with regard to AI and algorithms, all of these things are going to be determined. This is the world we are leaving with deeply complex questions. And who gets to inform those conversations? Who has access to inform those conversations? Again, all things that we need to have conversations about, because it's who decides, and who decides matters. Who's in the room having these conversations matters. What happens when we start trading currency in the metaverse? Is there money laundering? Is there bank fraud? Is there rules? Is there not? You know, that is something, I don't know. I feel like kids are trying to sort it out in Roblox, and it's going to be like, oh, well, this worked in Roblox. Let's just see if this works in the metaverse. I'm very concerned that's how this is going to go. But it's going to be very interesting to see. So let us say goodbye. Lawnards, thank you for being here. We're almost at 3 hours. I was trying to keep it short because my brain has definitely run out of energy as we've gone. You've seen it. Statuesque Miss. I'm a huge fan of Gem and the Holograms. Were we just being prepared for this from the time we were children? Were our robot overlords just like, hey, all of you in the 80s who loved this as a child, welcome the AI, welcome the holograms, welcome the world as we see it. Were we just being prepped for this so we would be like, yes, I want to live in that world where Gem and the Holograms exist. I want to live in the world where Gem and the Holograms exist. My Gem and the Holograms dolls were my favorite thing ever. Even though I was told as a child that, God, this is so fucked. I was told as a child by other children my age that the Gem and the Holograms dolls were not as attractive as the Barbie dolls because they were not as thin. Yep, did that imprint on my little like 8-year-old brain? Sure fucking did. Wow. Anyway, unlocked a core memory. I loved Gem and the Holograms. I loved it so much. The people who were making Gem and the Holograms like saw forward that this was happening. And that's what it is. Here we go. All right. I know you guys are like, what the hell? Well, real life, man, real life. Look, it's not like we're not seeing kids have to deal with body dysmorphia on social media. We still had these things that we were dealing with even without social media with regard to the things that we played with. Like these things are not new, unfortunately. They're just, we're having to deal with them in different ways. All right, with that, I am going to say goodbye. I see you saying that we're never going to mention the movie. I'm assuming we're talking about Ready Player One, the movie. We don't acknowledge that exists. Not at our house. The actors are fine, but it's not the book. All right. You guys are great. I love that you're talking about Gem. Oh, fantastic. You guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a Lawnard. Don't forget to do the YouTube-y things. I'll be back on Thursday at 11 and tomorrow with a new episode of The Emily Show ready for you. I will see you in the next one. Should I say I'll be back again now? Hold on. Should we do it one more time? No, not that one. I'll be back. Connect with me everywhere. I'm at the Emily D. Baker. If you guys want to join the text, just text Emily.com. If you want to join the channel, LawNerdsUnite.com. Happy to have you. Support what we do here on the YouTube.